begins with live. Everybody remember to drink your frickin' 5 Alive. There we go. Hello, everybody. How's it going today? I just realized I didn't turn on my thing. Percy, how could you get me to not turn on my thing before I started the stream? Oh my goodness. How's everybody doing today? Oh my gosh. Thank you, Foxen, for resubscribing with Twitch Prime for 10 months in a row. Thank you, 10 months, and thank you, Starthing, for the 20 biddies. Hi, everybody. Did the commentary go well? I had a good time with the commentary today. I think it went pretty good. I hope. How was the commentary today, y'all? People that were there at the race. Did I do okay? Did I make yous proud? Jish, promise you won't hate me when you play the seed I made. I make a promise to try, Vmon. I make a promise to try. Okay. Oh, I'm glad to hear you're doing better, Celeste. We got your back. Josh, you're fired. Oh, dear. Oh, no. So today's stream is going to be a little bit different than usual. We're going to try something new today, y'all. Because, I'm going to be 100% honest with y'all. We partied a little bit last night. So your boys, not hungover, but like more low energy than usual. And then I deliberately like made myself as high energy as possible for the commentary thing today. And then afterwards, I was like, yeah, then we're going to do a full stream on my channel. And then, like, as soon as the commentary was done, it was like I got hit by a brick wall. Like, I just felt, like, the past couple days worth of tiredness, like, hitting me at once. So I was like, okay, change of plan. We're going to have a chill stream today. But there has been something I've been wanting to do for a little bit, which was just reacting to some Zelda fan theories. And I don't mean that in like a rude way. Like I'm gonna make it very clear, like in the chat, like we're not making fun of any YouTubers or like anything about the videos themselves. We are just looking up some Zelda fan theories, and we're gonna talk about the fan theories themselves. So if anyone's being like if we watch a game theory video, I don't want to see like any like negative stuff about MatPat or anything like that in the chat. This isn't the place for it or things like that. But we're just gonna have a fun time with that. And other than looking at the Zelda fan theories, I'll be like talking to chat. We're just gonna hang out tonight. Does that sound like a plan? Like the Gorons being stoners. Well, exactly. I gotta look up what like the legit Zelda theories are before I give the most legit Zelda theory. My washing machine has been broken for like 7 weeks. Ooh, that sucks, Shauna. I hope you've been able to like hit up a laundromat or something, or some way to get clean clothes. What did you find, Megs? How's it going? Okay. Was there anything else I had to set up first? Can we at least tease Matt a bit? I think I am gonna have to keep it like just while we're doing this, just a blanket rule. We're not gonna be talking about any YouTubers in specific while we do this, just because I want to make sure that we're not. Yeah, I don't want to cross any lines. So just for safety reasons, I'm gonna say let's not make fun of any YouTubers, even if it is like even if you are a fan of their content and like it's light teasing. Let's just try to avoid that for tonight. But yeah. I have a good channel, do Vortexy Gaming. There's a lot of good stuff on our channel. I suggest you Songs of the Dead or Hero Time. Okay. So yeah, at first I think we're just gonna look up like Zelda theory, like. I think we need to start with Link's Dead and Majora's Mask. I feel like that's the one we got to start with. But then, yeah, I'm down to take some suggestions from you guys. And, like, we'll just search on YouTube and see what we can find. It's going to be a chill time. Oh, that's awesome, Usagi. That's super cool. You get to go to a convention. No bully. Exactly. Okay. So what pops up if I just Google or if I just look up Zelda theories? That is the worst thumbnail I have ever seen, and I feel like we might have to click that one first. Holy shit. What? Yeah, this might be the worst thumbnail I have ever seen in all of my life. I probably should go to incognito mode. But also I need to show you guys. Yeah, I'm going to have to do incognito mode for this because I don't want to destroy my recommendations, but I do need to show you guys this thumbnail cuz what the fuck? Okay, give me a second, y'all. Pingy, thank you for resubscribing with Twitch Prime for 9 months. Ooh, we just had a baby. I can't believe it. Thank you very much for that, Pingy. Display capture. Not that one. That one. There we go. So what the actual fuck? Like, come on. I'm gonna hope that's adult Link. Like, what? And then also dead Antichrist true lover. I have so many regrets. I have so many regrets already. Okay, let's do this on incognito mode. Okay. Oh, okay, wait. Can I do dark mode on here? Yes, I can. Okay. Boop. There we go. Zelda theories. Is shuddering before puking an okay reaction to that thumbnail? I think that's acceptable. Okay. So here we go. Wait. Oh, there it is. Okay, I was like, does this theory seriously not show up when I'm not on my account? Does the YouTube algorithm think that I want to see lewd Link and Redead art? Okay. Like, do we... Okay, should we start with this? The top 10 Zelda theories? Let's just do it. Screw it. Let's go for it.
Hey, guys.
Okay. Every time we get the repair guy, we're convinced that the washing machine is going to be fixed the next day, so we keep putting off going to the laundromat, so I'm on the last of my clothes. Oh. Friggin' repair dudes. Hey, Drago, how's it going? All right, are we ready for this? Top 10 Zelda fan theories. Ugh. Okay. Actually, oops. Boop. Top 10 Zelda fan theories. So I'm going to put the name of the video, like, in the bottom thing. Just so people can, like, look it up themselves if they want to. Okay. Let's get right into this. I'm having trouble figuring out if this was a dream I had or if it was real, but when the original Zelda was coming out, some Japanese magazine did an article about it and had one of the resident illustrators do some art for it, but the artist thought Link was a redhead elf girl, so it was a bunch of borderline etchy art of a female Link filling the article. That could, like, be a thing that didn't happen, but also I that, like, could have happened? Maybe? That doesn't sound familiar, but I could see that being a situation. But okay, let's get into this. Tell me if I need to boost the audio or anything, and let's get right down to it.
Hey guys, welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. If you're a fan of the channel, you'll know by now that we love our fan theory videos. There's some pretty impressive ones out there for many of our favorite series. And today, we're swinging by Hyrule and taking a look at some of the theories about our buddy Link and his adventures. It's the Top 10 Insane Zelda Fan Theories. Let's jump in.
Top 10 Gaming! Woo!
In at number 10 is the single Link theory. While it's canon that there are different timelines in the series, many fans believe that it's one single Link that goes through every single adventure in every single game. Now, Nintendo popped a hole right in the middle of this theory when they released the official timeline of the Legend of Zelda series, but that hasn't stopped theorists from speculating anyway.
This one's been disproven, but we're gonna start our list off with it. Good job. Good job.
Number 9 is It's a
Wait, that was it? That was the entire theory?
Dream, aka the Zelda.
Wait. No, are you... That can't be a thing. That's the entire theory that she's gonna give? Is that... Okay. Like, okay, so if there is, like, gonna be theories and stuff where it's like, technically this doesn't line up with, like, the timeline, but let's speculate. Like, okay, I'll, like, that's an acceptable, like, start. Like, at least you're giving it, like, okay, like, technically this was disproven, but let's talk about this. But you can't just go, like, there's a theory that all the links are the same. It was disproven by the timeline, but... And then just be done. Like, you need to have something after the but there, don't you? You need to have something more than the but. You get, like, you need to be like, so this is why a single link thing would make sense and would be an alternate, like, suggestion other than, like, the split timeline and stuff like that. Like, you can't just be like, what if this? What if this? Oh, dear. All right, let's go into number 9.
Many fans believe that it's one single Link that goes through every single adventure in every single game. Now, Nintendo popped a hole right in the middle of this theory when they released the official timeline of the Legend of Zelda series, but that hasn't stopped theorists from speculating anyway. In at number 9 is It's a Dream, aka the Zelda Inception theory. No theory list is complete without a dream theory, so Link always starts off every game by waking up. And while this is a common narrative trope in games and other fictional media, some think that in this case it signifies that every game is a dream of Link's, which explains the timelines and how history can repeat itself in the Legend of Zelda universe. And the Inception part? Well, some fans think that rather than every game being a new dream, each time he wakes up in a new game, Link is waking up from the previous dream, aka game.
What?
And at number 8 is Kuko's
Just what if dream? What if dream? That is my theory. What if dream? Thank you for the follow there. Oh my gosh. Why'd the username disappear off screen? Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? Drago, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the Clever Crew. Okay, okay.
are immortal. This one is a theory that's been proven in practice.
Okay, yeah.
Sort of. So by now, you already know that if you attack
Kaku's
a
are
Kuko
immortal.
long enough,
That's
they'll
just a
let out
fact.
a
That's
cry
not a
and their
theory.
flock will attack you. And there's no actual way to kill them. They'll kill you first. You either have to run away or, well, just run away. This has led many people to believe that Kukos are invincible, and therefore immortal. No one has yet found a way to kill one. What are your theories on Kukos? Let us know in the comments below. Personally, I think they might die, but maybe they're just invincible. Up next, number 7 is Talon is Mario. While some people believe there's a deeper meaning rooted in this one, most fans have abandoned this as a theory, considering it to just be a reference to Super Mario Bros. Than anything more substantial. Those who don't think it's an homage have crafted more fanciful theories though, like Talon is Mario once he's retired. Okay, sure, whatever floats your boat. Up next, number 6 is Agatha the Bug Collector. For someone who seems to be a non-consequential supporting character that isn't really all that integral to the main narrative of the game, Agatha sure has raised a lot of questions. In Twilight Princess, she pays Link for bringing her golden bugs. So people were wondering, how does she have so much money? Take a closer look at her appearance and surroundings and it becomes apparent that she's definitely wealthy. This led fans to think that she's potentially Zelda's sister. And because she's been placed in Castletown, maybe there's a reason why the royal family doesn't want her around. Perhaps because she's schizophrenic. Fans argue that this could be the case because of her grandeur delusions towards what she calls the insect kingdom, along with a lot of other traits that are similar to the mental disorders. And at number 5 is the
So we have a character that really likes bugs and gives you a reward for doing a side quest in a game. The only possible explanation is that she is Zelda's schizophrenic sister. Let's continue.
Epona died in Majora's Mask. This theory comes from Reddit user Scantier, who speculates that after Skull Kid steals Link's ocarina and
Wait.
5 is Epona died in Majora's
I can't do this. Are we like is this building up to Link died of Majora's Mask? Like is the entire next 5 ones like Epona died of Majora's Mask, Zelda died of Majora's Mask, Link died of Majora's Mask, Tattle died of Majora's Mask, even though you just met her in Majora's Mask? Like, is that what's gonna happen here? Hey Ash, how's it going?
Mask. This theory comes from Reddit user Scantier, who speculates that after Skull Kid steals Link's ocarina and Epona, Link chases after him and eventually encounters him, in which Skull Kid says this bit of dialogue: "There's no point in riding a thing like that, so I did you a favor and got rid of it." Link then finds a horse's ranch owned by Romani, and learns a song to summon Epona whenever he wants. But here's the thing, how would Romani be able to teach or immediately know the song that would summon Epona, unless he already owned the horse? And it's a different horse, which makes us question whether Skull Kid carried out his threats. Things to also consider: it would be incredibly difficult for Epona to even get into Clocktown in the first place, even if she did escape. And at number 4 is the
Okay. That was actually probably like the most like level-headed one so far. I disagree with it because he doesn't say I killed your horse. He says he got rid of it and then it shows up in another place. So he got rid of it into the other place. But okay.
Dark Link Peter Pan theory.
Okay, I'll hear this one out.
Many fans have debated what the origin of Dark Link is. This dark reflection of Link that he's continuously faced with throughout the series has been speculated to be Link's shadow. That, and similar to Peter Pan, who he shares many aesthetic traits with, is constantly at war with his own shadow. I don't know, what do you guys think? And at number 3 is Majora's...
But that's not a theory, that's just a reference. That's literally just, hey, Link's a green character that has a shadow that occasionally, like, messes with him. You know who else is a green character with a shadow that occasionally messes with him? Peter Pan. The end. Okay.
Mask is the 5 stages of grief. This one's probably my personal favorite. So this
All right,
theory
this,
explores
like,
the idea that
yeah.
Majora's Mask is based off of the Kubler-Ross model of the 5 stages of grief. With the 5 realms you explore symbolizing denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And that is all reflected in how the NPCs deal with loss in the game. So let's look into this. Clocktown's people are in denial about the moon crashing into the planet. Woodfall's Deku King is filled with anger due to the loss of his daughter and is lashing out at a monkey, who's innocent. In Snowhead, Darmani's ghost begs Link to try to bring him back. Bargaining. And Lulu in Great Bay copes with loss by standing in silence. Depression. Then, lastly, Link climbs the Stone Tower Temple where he gets light arrows, which is supposed to symbolize acceptance. The game theorists go on to theorize that Link is in purgatory and has died and is grieving that. But that...
No. Just cut that part off there. Just cut that. You're so close. That theory's so close to being like, yeah. Like, just go through. Yes, this symbolizes this. This symbolizes this. This symbolizes this. And then just when you're on the tip of your tongue and you're like, and then Link died because of all this, just cut that part off. Just stop right there. Just stop right there.
That is a different theory for another day. And at number 2 is Navi dies at the end of Ocarina of Time. Speaking of death, let's talk about Navi. So Navi disappears at the end of the game, and many think it's because she dies. The evidence? Well, it's speculated that Navi is a part of a race that doesn't seem to have too long of a lifespan. This is due to the fact that the red and pink fairies you find throughout the game also disappear once they fulfill their purpose. Many feel that the theory in our number 3 spot that we just touched on is actually Link experienced grief over Navi's death rather than his own, and that Navi is the beloved friend he is looking for in Majora's Mask. And finally, in at number 1 is the Tetraforce theory. This one is based on the idea that there's a 4th Triforce piece, making it a Tetraforce. Now, the way it's been portrayed in all of the games is always the same, with a missing triangle piece in its middle. This has led to speculation that there's a 4th piece of the Triforce, or Tetraforce. This was further reinforced by the fact that on the Hylian shield there's a yellow triangle beneath the Triforce, right at its bottom. There's barely any evidence from the games that supports this one though, but that hasn't stopped fans from commenting on other things in the game that comes in 4s. The 4 Light Spirits in Twilight Princess, the 4 Giants in Majora's Mask, etc, etc. And there's even speculation that there is a 4th goddess in the creation of the Triforce in Ocarina of Time, a goddess named Tetra. Alright, there we have it, friends. What's your favorite Zelda theory? Let us know in those comments below. And if you have a theory of your own, also let us know about that too. We'd love to hear it.
This Tetraforce theory, I want to find like an actual video dedicated to this. Cause that's like interesting, or like a possibility, but I feel like you'd have to have more than that for this to be a theory. Like, you can't just say like, you could fit a triangle in here. There's obviously a Tetraforce. Like, who wields the 4th piece? What does it symbolize? Why is there another god in Ocarina of Time? Like, do they have, like, a link or something in the description where they're getting these from? No. Like, can I look that up next? Tetraforce theory. Oh god, there's so many of them. Breath of the Wild proves the Tetraforce? I mean, do we want to watch this one? This is like the top one for this. Craig, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Clever Crew. And No Face, thank you for resubscribing for 9 months. Ooh, we just had a baby. So many babies today. I love it. Okay, let's look at this one.
Listen to me. If you hear something in the woods...
No! Sandra Bullock, stop it. Oh, shit. Okay. Of the Wild, does the Forgotten Temple prove the Tetraforce theory? Okay. All right. Let's watch this one. I legitimately want to know more about this Tetraforce
So
thing.
you might have heard of a very popular theory back in the day when Ocarina of Time was released. It was a very hot topic for many diehard Zelda fans, and was known as the Tetraforce theory. We all know about the three pieces of the Triforce that make up the relic. The Triforce of Power, Courage, and Wisdom. But after close examination of the Hylian Shield, there was another piece right below the Royal Family.
I like that. After closely examining the Hylian shield. Oh shit! Oh shit, I almost missed that. There's another triangle on there. Holy fuck. Oh dear.
The Hylian Shield, there was another piece right below the royal family's crest. Intense discussion of this detail began, and led to many people believing that a fourth piece existed. Huh. I wonder what happened to that theory. Oh. Well, that's kind of a bummer.
Wait. Official Nintendo statement. Nintendo and Shigeru Miyamoto vehemently denied the existence of the Tetraforce on multiple occasions. Oh, he doesn't need... Oh, it's just saying this thing. Okay. Like, is that a thing that happened? Like, has a game journalist, like, asked, like, is there a fourth piece of the Triforce, Mr. Miyamoto? Like, is that a thing, or are they just saying that, like, later designs don't have that fourth triangle on it? That's interesting.
Or is it? No, it's definitely a dead theory. Might want to rethink that one, guys.
Wait, what?
While Breath of the Wild is a fantastic game with its open world setting and immersive experience, it's no masterpiece. But with a game that has so much to explore, there are plenty of locations that bring up mysterious questions regarding the kingdom's past. And one particular place has had my interest for the last, well, forever. And this location resides in the top left of Hyrule. Buried deep within the ground, there lay a structure simply known as the Forgotten Temple. The name itself was enough to get me interested, but like many things within the game, details about it were vague at best. Even exploring this area, no matter how many times, always yielded little to no results. So a video discussing the location has been held on the back burner for quite some time, though after looking into it more via forums and online videos, I came across an interesting video regarding it made by the users? Known as Two Guys Playing Zelda. Long story short, they believe that the existence of the temple proved that the Tetraforce was more than just a fan theory. There was quite a bit to this video, but before I dissect it and give my thoughts, we need to shed some light on this infamous theory stemming all the way back to the days of the Nintendo 64. As stated in the intro,
Oh, that was
the theory
a cool
of the
effect.
Tetraforce is the belief of a fourth piece of the relic existing in the game. The main evidence for this claim had lay in one of the items in Ocarina of Time, the Hylian Shield. From the design, you can see that while the Triforce is at the top, there is a separate piece on the bottom. Plus, the shape was flipped in a way where it perfectly fits in the middle of the Triforce.
Like, I just think it looks nice. Like, I think it would look weird if you didn't have, like, if you had it like all the like yellow up top and then it was like red below it, like that would look unbalanced. Like, I think it's just because it looks nice.
Separate piece on the bottom. Plus, the shape was flipped in a way where it perfectly fits in the middle of the Triforce. People immediately came to the conclusion that there weren't 3 pieces of the Triforce, but 4. Hence why this theory was referred to as the Tetraforce theory. Problem is, as far as evidence went, that was pretty much it. The closest people got to solid proof was from later games such as Twilight Princess having 4 light spirits instead of 3. This led people to speculate that there could be a 4th goddess to be alongside Din, Neru, and Farore. And then
Is that Palutena? Is that Palutena's, like, outline? That's 100% Palutena. Right? Yeah, okay. People in chat got that too. I just wanted to make sure.
And then speculation began on who
I actually think that's like a really nice touch to like have like if you're doing this type of theory video, like that's a nice touch to have your own like have an outline for your like fourth goddess or whatever. Like that is a nice touch, but it's just like, is that Palutena?
And then speculation began on who this bearer of the fourth piece was, from Hylia herself, all the way to the fierce deity within Majora's Mask. Here's the problem, though. Nintendo decided
Wait. He's got his triangle right on his titty. Did I just solve the Zelda thing? Did I find the Tetraforce, guys? Or is that what he's talking about?
To the fierce deity within Majora's Mask. Here's the problem, though. Nintendo decided to take out the Triforce piece residing below the Hylian shield for future titles, and even gone as far as to allegedly say that the Tetraforce doesn't exist. I say allegedly because I couldn't find any official statements on the matter, but it is spread enough to the point where I can safely assume that it happened. Of course.
Wait. So he's saying Nintendo allegedly deconfirmed the theory, but he can't find any proof of it. But enough people are saying that they deconfirmed the theory that he's going to assume it's true? Like, because I don't think like video game companies generally like comment on like fan theories and stuff like that. I don't think that's usually a thing.
Despite this being debunked by, you know, the people who made the game in the first place, there are plenty of people that still believe that the Tetraforce is real. Some even believe that Nintendo may have originally planned to have 4 pieces, but scrapped the idea altogether. But I wanted to come back and visit this topic as an outsider. While I would say that my knowledge regarding Breath of the Wild is somewhat vast, I can't really say much about other Zelda titles. But is there anything within Nintendo's most recent game in the franchise that helps point towards the answer of this age-long question? Can we prove the existence of this 4th piece, or once and for all put it to rest? Without further ado, let's get started. The first part of this video is going to be breaking down the video discussing the theory. It's pretty interesting, so a link will be in the description to go watch it. Now,
wait. So this video is him responding to this video? Should we just go watch this video then? Or like, if anyone's like watched this before, like, will this like cover enough of it that I'll be fine? It'll cover enough, I think. Like, how long is this? Let's check. Man! That's gotta suck. Like, they made this episode, and this guy made an episode responding to their episode. And, like, so their initial episode is, like, 85,000 views. And his response to their video has, like, 400,000. Interesting. If you go back and then watch this, you'll basically be watching it twice. Oh, okay. We'll probably stick with just watching this one, then.
Description to go watch it. Now, as stated in the video, when it comes to knowing exactly what the Forgotten Temple is, the giant statue of Hylia would be your best reference. This same statue is found in areas of Skyward Sword such as Skyloft and the Sealed Temple. But aside from that, there really is nothing else pointing towards it being either location. The geography of both don't match up, but more importantly, the appearance of the temple in Breath of the Wild
Is he legit using as an argument because geographically Breath of the Wild doesn't 100% line up with Skyward Sword? Literally the opposite ends of the timeline? Like, what? I'm so confused.
Both don't match up. But more importantly, the appearance of the temple in Breath of the Wild is very different compared to the sealed temple in Skyward Sword. But the user continues to point out how goddess statues only appear in important locations.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate that they finally found a thing where the geography of Hyrule is a little bit inconsistent. That's like, that ruins the whole series for me. They've been so good at that up until now.
Such as towns and iconic landmarks like the Temple of Time. Which is a good point. Sure, one is found by itself in Akala, but only until you build a town in the area via one of the side quests. So the Forgotten Temple is clearly of some importance. This is where the speculation begins in the video. When going over the fact that guardians are in the temple, the user, let's just call him Guy from now on, believes that they were built not to protect something, but keep people out. The reason is because the fourth goddess was being hidden away within the temple. It was then buried in the ground to be, well, forgotten. And there are hints within the game that imply the Tetraforce's existence. On the Great Plateau, 3 of the shrine's monks create a Triforce shape with their hands, when one makes an inverted version, most likely referencing the mysterious fourth piece. And the only other areas where there is both a shrine with a goddess statue are the springs of, you guessed it, power, courage, and wisdom. The Forgotten Temple's similar layout could be because it was made for the fourth piece. At least, that's what Guy believes. So, does this
See, that right there, I'm into that. I'm like, okay, that's like the good, like, basis. You're starting to, like, be an interesting, like, possibility or, like, thing. Like, the idea that, like, there's 3 of them and then there's also someone, like, representing something else. Like, I'm okay with that. And especially the fact that it, like, lines up that, like, there's 4 distinct shrines of that type. Like, that works. That's okay.
Evidence prove that the fans were right all along? Was Nintendo lying to us? Were there really 4 pieces to the relic? Not making it the Triforce, but Tetraforce? Absolutely not. No matter how you look at it, there is no way that a physical 4th piece of the Triforce would exist. Keyword, physical. Because even though Nintendo has gone out of their way to deny it, I believe that it does exist. Just not in the way we think. Confused? Don't worry. After I explain it, you won't be.
Bitch, you got a lot of explaining to do. Wait, what?
Well, hopefully. Now, you guys might know what an optical illusion is. Optical illusions can use color, light, and patterns to create images that can be deceptive or misleading to our brains. The information gathered by the eye is processed by...
Is he building up to saying the middle of the Triforce is black? That it's not a gap between 3 triangles, it's a black piece in between 3 yellow pieces? I think that's where he's leading up.
By the brain, creating a perception that, in reality, does not match the true image. Now you might be like, wow, talk about a super random switch in topics. But just bear with me here. In the past, you might have gotten this kind of question asked to you. You have a bunch of squares given to you, and the goal of the problem is to find out how many squares this image has. You first might just count all the small ones and answer with 9. But in reality, there are 14. Because not only do you have the small ones, but bigger ones made up of a cluster of blocks. And then the whole image itself makes one giant square. While not really an optical illusion, the image is meant to throw your mind for a loop. I bring this up because the idea of the Triforce itself is an illusion, because as long as you have all 3 pieces of the Triforce, a 4th will exist in the middle. And that completely holds up in the design of the relic itself. No matter what 2 pieces you already have, it won't make up that 4th triangle in the center. And what makes the Triforce unique? In order to harness the full power of it, you must have all 3 pieces. It's symbolic, and something I don't think many people realize. The empty part in the middle represents the power that a wielder can only obtain through the balance of the 3 different virtues: power, courage, and wisdom. Having a physical 4th piece exist would ruin the point that the Triforce is trying to make to begin with. Here's another thing. When you see each specific Triforce piece, people will generally link that piece with the goddess associated with it. Dim with power, Naru for wisdom, and Furor to represent courage. But when you look at the Triforce altogether, in other words, the 4th piece, the first person coming to mind would probably be Hylia. It makes sense since the relic was left in her care to protect against evil, so you could argue that this 4th piece is created from the full Triforce. Remember, Nintendo denied the existence of it, probably because it doesn't physically appear or have any effect to the game's story. But from a symbolic point, you could make the argument that it represents the sacred power obtained once all the pieces are together. The piece on the bottom of the Hylian shield? Probably just a design choice that fans misinterpreted. At the same time, fellow theorist Laurelian historian had this to say about it.
I believe that the 4th piece on the Hylian shield in Ocarina of Time was a hint at the Light Force, which was also a sacred relic the royal family of Hylia possessed by that time, and is also represented by a golden triangle.
Which does
What the fuck is a light force? What?
add up. From this image, you can clearly see that the look of the light force makes up the shape of an equilateral triangle. In other words, it is identical to that of a Triforce piece. Of course, there was a gap of 6 years between Ocarina of Time and the Minish Cap, so did Nintendo really plan that far ahead with it? And once again, the
Oh, that is an actual thing from Minish Cap? Oh. Would that, like... I thought it was just a Triforce piece that was in Minish Cap. I gotta replay Minish Cap, apparently.
fourth piece in the shield was removed for future titles, so who knows what the truth is. Now, for the Forgotten Temple itself, notice that this Hylia statue is a lot bigger than the 3 found at the Springs. Well, it doesn't seem to be associated with any Tetraforce. It would make sense if the statue represented that ultimate power obtained when all 3 are in the user's possession, since it has a huge size. But that is mostly speculation. Another thing to point out, you also see a giant statue in this game's Temple of Time. Could the Forgotten Temple have been an old version of the Temple of Time? Judging by the name Forgotten Temple, we can assume that this place was home to many religious or spiritual rituals. And from the huge goddess statue found at the end of it, Hyrulean citizens must have shown up to worship the goddess Hylia. Considering how big the temple was, and the massive size of the statue compared to other locations, this was probably the main area of worship. As speculated previously, it might have even represented the balance of all virtues making up the Triforce. We know that 10,000 years ago the king banished the Sheikah and their technology in fear of the royal family being overthrown, but if we look at the bottom of the old tapestry located at Impa's house, an interesting detail comes to light. You see the soldiers chasing out the tribe, and to the very right they split into 2 groups. One goes down the path of hatred for the royal family and eventually forms into the Yiga clan, and the other runs towards what is clearly a goddess statue. This is symbolic, as it represents a Sheikah living normal lives under Hylia's protection. But what if they actually were fleeing to some sort of location with a statue? What if the place they hid from the king was a temple found in the northwest? In other words, the location currently dubbed the Forgotten Temple. While the Sheikah made the decision to abandon their technology and live normal lives, they would probably want to lay low for a while until the chaos was over. And how would they stay safe? Well, perhaps the Guardians were there to ensure that no one would enter the temple. As for the name Forgotten Temple, I'm pretty sure it's only named that because it was hidden in the ground. The idea of it being purposely buried in dirt and rock seems very unlikely, but the passage of 10,000 years could do a lot to the landmass. Just look at the Lome Labyrinth Island. There is no path towards it, yet it was built in the middle of the water. Aside from that, there really isn't much else. I guess a sealed and forgotten temple could be the same, but there are a lot of distinct differences between the two. And geography in the Zelda games hasn't had a reputation for being the most consistent. I guess one other thing is that you receive the Tunic of the Wild set here, but that doesn't really add much. TLDR, the place could have been an older version of the Temple of Time that the Sheikah hidden during the banishment 10,000 years ago. But as far as Guy's video, the Forgotten Temple's history, and the Tetraforce, those are my thoughts. Like always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe as it will help me with producing more videos related to Breath of the Wild.
So is that the end of his video?
I also have a Twitter that you can follow me on for tweets regarding videos and even cute kitten pics. Aww. Just look at those two. In the meantime, I've been Nintendo Black Crisis, and I will see you guys later.
Okay. That was actually like a pretty reasonable, like by the end of it, I think it was being, like he seemed to kind of be taking like 2 sides of that, but I guess he was just like showing like this is what the argument for the Tetraforce is. Like I think I'm okay with like the kind of symbolic like idea of it, whether it's through like whenever you have all 3 like pieces, you get like a 4th like special one that's overseen by Hylia. Like that I'm a bit less keen towards, but like that idea that like yes, there's the absence between those 3 triangles and those being like represented by one of the dudes in the shrine, like that I would buy that. So that video turned itself around, I think. I do believe. Okay. So that's the Tetraforce theory, I guess. Good to know. All right. I think we need to do it. I think we need to do it.
Wheel of Game.
Josh, have you ever had to piss but your roommate is in the bathroom and will be taking a while? If so, what did you do? Just have the longest, like, 10 minutes of my life waiting for them to get out. Okay. Let's do this. I haven't actually watched through this whole video in forever. Let's do it.
Wheel of Gaming. Turn, turn, turn. Tell me the fan base I should burn. Oh, jeez. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory, the show that unwittingly manages to offend a new subset of die-hard video game fans on a regular basis. Speaking of which, that's why today we're talking about the absolutely absurd physics of Zelda's hook.
But yeah, that's Majora's Mask.
What?
Oh,
There's
God!
a bunch of Zelda games out there, and I love it. Anyway, I'm Peanut Butter Gamer, and I'll see you guys next.
Excuse me,
I
Mr.
forgot
Butter
this was a
Gamer,
collab.
you appear to be on the wrong channel.
Huh. How'd that happen?
YouTube glitch.
Oh, YouTube glitch. While we're on the subject, can we talk about how videos don't reach subscribers?
Or comments requiring Google Plus.
This video is 5.5 years old. This video is 5.5 years old that we have been complaining about YouTube not sending shit to subscribers. Holy shit. Oh my god. That just like... I feel like I just had like fire go through my veins at that realization.
So, since you're here, you mentioned Majora's Mask?
Oh yeah, I just finished it again. It's definitely one of my favorite Zelda games. It's so dark and creepy.
Right? Like, who would think that Nintendo would actually release a game about Link dying?
Wait, say that again?
Well, it's just a theory.
Oh, a game
Oh,
thief.
slow down there, peanut butter jelly time. Let's not jump the gun here. Have you heard about the Majora's
Hey,
Mask
Blighter.
grief theory?
Well, it sounds kind of familiar, but why don't you go ahead and fill me in just in case?
Well, basically there are 5 major realms in the game, right?
Yeah, there's Clocktown, Woodfall, Snowhead, Akana Valley, and Great Bay, not in that order.
So, each area... Wait, hold on, let me get this out of the way here. Ugh. Give us some room to breathe.
Also, okay, I'm just like before we get into the actual theory, I'm just gonna point this out. I kind of want to know how they filmed this because that's not you. Austin, if you ever watch this, I'm sorry for like pausing on like weird faces, but like that's actually like usually when you do a YouTube collab. Like, you would have, like, your script of what they're supposed to say, but you would, like every time, so he's,
Say that
like,
again?
Well, it's just
like, he's saying something, and then, like, Matt Pat has time to respond, and it's the same video clip of him responding here. That'd be so much more complicated to set up between two YouTubers, like, having you feed your lines back and forth to each other so that they fit without taking the camera or having any cuts. So, like, I kind of want to know how they did that. Like whether like they did just record this at the same time or like how like that's way more complicated than like it usually would be. So like I'm actually impressed about that. Also, Blighter, thank you for resubscribing with the tier 3 sub for 20 months in a row. 20 months, getting close to that gold sub badge, baby. Thank you very much, Blighter.
A game.
Oh,
thief.
slow down there, peanut butter jelly time. Let's not jump the gun here. Have you heard about the
Yeah, like it
Majora's
might have
Mask
been video
grief
chat.
theory?
Well, it sounds kind of familiar, but why don't you go ahead and fill me in just in case?
Okay.
Valley and Great Bay, not in that order.
So, each area... Wait, hold on, let me get this out of the way here. Ugh. Give us some room to breathe. As I was saying,
here's the
each
link,
area
Megs.
in the game features some aspect of loss, right? But the way the game's NPCs handle these losses differ from one location to the next. In fact, how the characters handle their personal losses and the order in which you confront them perfectly match up with what's known as the Kubler-Ross model of grief, which basically says that when someone is confronted with death, they go through 5 very distinct emotional phases: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
this
for
part is I
short.
really like
Link's
this
adventure
shit.
starts in Clocktown, where all the people are in denial. Notice how, even though there's a moon that's going to crash into the world, killing everyone in 3 days, no one seems to care. In fact, they're planning a carnival. Take a quick peek into the mayor's office and you see Muto the carpenter calling anyone who's scared a coward, saying that the falling moon is just a groundless theory.
That's again, I'm impressed by the production value a little bit. Like, he didn't have to update. Wait, how did he do this? What the fuck? That would be a lot of video editing to make a high resolution text box over N64 footage, but like, especially when it has a transparent background there, that's nuts.
A game thief.
Nope, still not yet. Appreciate the enthusiasm though, but still no. Still not yet.
Oh, and there's the Swordmaster, who even says he's gonna slice the moon into pieces. Not the most effective strategy.
A perfect example of denial, or stage 1 of the Kubler-Ross model. Then there's the Deku Palace in Woodfall. Here, the princess has gone missing. And how does the Deku King respond? Obviously by raging against a monkey. Man, monkey abuse just seems to be a thing around here lately. Anyway, he jumps to the conclusion that this monkey is the culprit and must die as a punishment. The thing is, the monkey's innocent. The Deku King is just angry, lashing out at anything and anyone because he doesn't know what else to do, and thus we see the second stage of grief manifested.
You mad, bro? Yes, he is. Stage 3, I got this. Snowhead features the Gorons, a tribe who just lost their leader, Darmani. When you meet his ghost, he begs Link to use his magic to bring him back to life. He's bargaining. Darmani is actively trying to make a deal to prolong his life just a little longer, thinking that Link can provide some backdoor solution to the inevitability of his death.
And when those bargains fail, you get depressed. Stage 4. This is when a person realizes that there's no escape and that there's nothing that they can do, so they instead retreat inward, disconnecting from the world. And it's at the Great Bay that Link meets Lulu, a Zora who's lost her eggs. She's a mother who's lost her children, and to cope she just stands there, staring out into the distance, silent. And finally, Link makes his way to Icona Valley, a valley filled with death, sure, but also a place of acceptance. First, you have Sharp, one of 2 composer brothers who you help come to terms with his mistreatment of his sibling. But also, more symbolically, you have the Stone Tower Temple, which has you climbing upwards towards the heavens and obtaining enlightenment, here illustrated by the item of the dungeon being the light arrows. Link has journeyed through the Valley of Death, passed through the other 4 stages, and here he ascends into acceptance.
There's even the Goro Master, a creature that is described as emptiness cloaked in darkness. If this game is all about overcoming grief, fighting this guy is a pretty literal interpretation. He even commits suicide once you defeat him, an enemy who refuses to accept death on anyone's terms but his own.
And when you really stop to think about the whole repeating 3 days gameplay mechanic, that in essence is how grief can feel, like you're trapped in time and can't move forward. It paralyzes you from moving on with your life.
This grief theory does make a lot of sense, but what is Link grieving? I don't see why you'd say he's dead. The game starts off with him roaming the Lost Woods in search of Navi, who flew away at the end of Ocarina of Time. Why anyone would bother...
Starthing, thank you for the 20 biddies. Unfortunately, I need to go now. Everybody enjoy the stream. Have a great day/night. Thank you very much, Starthing. Hope you have a good night.
Searching for her is beyond me, but Link is a weird kid, so whatever. Wouldn't it make more sense for him to be grieving over her loss? Maybe she died, or maybe he's just sad about losing her.
Maybe. But in my mind, there's more evidence to suggest something even darker. I propose to you that throughout Majora's Mask, Link is actually in purgatory, the waiting room of the afterlife, and that the game represents his journey to accept his death and move on. First, look at the name of the place, Termina. That's not even subtle, Nintendo. Termina, like terminal, the end. It's a pretty big red flag. Then look at how Link finds this place. Isn't it a bit strange that Link is falling down through a tree trunk into what equates to practically a whole new country? With its own astronomically themed nightmare fuel that apparently no one in Hyrule knows about. I mean, planet Earth is a really big place, significantly bigger than Hyrule, but whether you're in Spokane or Djibouti, you know how many moons we have. Really, I ask the question, where is this place supposed to be located?
Underground?
Then how was there a sky? And remember, Link supposedly fell a really long way to end up here. If that's the case though, he would have died. Granted, there's a lot of creative license in these games, don't get me wrong, but Nintendo has always taken falling very seriously in 3D Zeldas. Even the animation that happens while
I just need a minute. I just need a second. Okay, let's
while
go.
you fall feels a bit surreal. Like a bad LSD trip ripped straight out of Alice in Wonderland, which, spoiler alert, ends up being all a bad dream.
And now that you mention it, where did Epona go? You see them run into this tree, and I guess they could just jump from one stump to the next, but does Epona also live through that huge fall? Even if she does, Skulka would have to transport her over this water, through this cave door, and over these deadly platforms, all for her to end up at Romani Ranch later in the game. And he'd have to do that all before Link arrives so that he'd be ready to hover there all cool and Magneto-like. It does seem pretty suspicious.
Like it can't be real. Exactly. And that's also why most of the people you see throughout Termina are identical copies of the ones you met during your Ocarina of Time journey. Link's personal purgatory, his journey to accept his death, is populated with people he's encountered before.
He's like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. And you were there, and you were there, and you were there.
And consider the masks. The transformation masks all represent characters who have died. There's Darmani the Goron, whose ghost appears to you, Mikau the Zora guitarist, who actually dies in front of you, and although it's never actually said, the Deku mask is most likely this little sprout, the deceased child of the Deku
Hey,
Bomber.
Darian.
Knowing that these different transformations are Link assuming the forms of deceased characters, turn your attention to this, the Elegy of Emptiness. It's a song you get late in the game that allows you to create statue clones of your current form. In a lot of ways, they're like funeral effigies, standing there as a memorial to the dead. Now, if the only masks that allow you to create a clone using this song are the ones that are related to dead people, and Link is somehow able to create a clone of himself, that would seem to mean... What would that mean? Waiting on you.
And that actually makes sense in the timeline, too.
Okay, we'll keep moving on then.
Well, Majora's Mask comes before Twilight Princess according to the official Zelda timeline, right? And in Twilight Princess, there's the hero Shade, a Stalfos-looking creature who has officially been confirmed in Hyrule Historia as the spirit of the hero of time, aka Link in Majora's Mask. And just in case you doubt they're one and the same, he's left-handed like Link, and most of the songs he uses come from Ocarina and Majora. Anyway, Zelda lore states that those who become lost in the woods are fated to become a Stalfos. Although I accepted life as the hero, I could not convey the lessons of that life to those who came after. At last, I have eased my regrets. So, the hero of time is somehow prevented from teaching others his ways. And that begs the question, why? Why would this hero who has conquered both evil and time have such profound regrets? Could it be that he died prematurely? Could it be that he died in the Lost Woods becoming a Stalfos? Could it be? Probably.
It's also worth pointing out that the hero's Shade saying "believe in your strength" directly mirrors what the Happy Mask salesman says to Link throughout Majora's Mask. Believe in your strengths. And speaking of the Happy Mask salesman, he provides what I think is the strongest proof of this theory. Do you happen to remember the first line he says to you in the game?
You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?
When he says this to you at the beginning of the game, you assume he means Link being turned into a Deku bamboo shrub, right? That's just what happened, but that line actually repeats again later in the game. Every time you let the moon crash towards Earth. The animation shows the moon destroying Clocktown, Link getting consumed by fire, then you hear the happy mask salesman's laugh and see this line. The terrible fate isn't being turned into a scrub, it's Link dying. Why else would Nintendo choose to repeat that particular line at that particular instant?
Because you go back in time, and so he says it to you again. Because you went back in time, and that's where the loop starts again. That's how time travel works. If you go back in time, you're gonna have something be repeated to you. Oh boy.
Yeah, I got nothing. So him riding off into the fog at the end is Link accepting his fate and moving on?
That's definitely one way to interpret it. Ultimately though, dead or not, the reason this game is so incredible is that it's bigger than itself. It's symbolic of much larger and mature topics, allowing for any number of interpretations really. It's deeper, more somber, and incredibly more artistic than other entries in the series.
More like other games just in general.
Definitely. And in a lot of ways, the gamer sees what the gamer most wants to see in this sort of game. Have you suffered a loss as a child? You'll respond to those moments in the game. Are you afraid of losing your friends and being betrayed? Then Skull Kid's story will probably speak to you. And that's what happens when you try to interpret a work of art. What you're left with is, at best, just a theory. A game.
Is this the
you
one?
Know you can
Can
join
I
me
say
on
it this time?
one. Now is the... Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Good. A game theory. And hey,
I'm really proud of how progressive Matt Pat was.
just
Good.
For saying a gay right there.
a
Look at this.
game theory.
No, wait, he almost said it.
Is, at best, just a theory. A game.
Is this the
You
one?
know,
That is funny. He cut himself off right there. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Logan, for the 45 biddies. Taking that number 2 spot real quick. Well, thank you, Logan. And then Ashley taking the number 2 spot even more. Thank you very much, Ashley. Okay. See, that's it. Like, all in all, that's actually a pretty good video. I hadn't watched that in a while, so that was better than I remembered it being. I still really fundamentally disagree with, because a game has subtext, that subtext has to be text. Link has to be literally dead for a game to explore grief and depression and things like that. I really disagree with that idea. I think that's but also he does make a point of saying in this video, maybe he's not dead, but the game's still about these things. So I get it. That's a good, nice clickbaity title. That's gonna get clicks and stuff like that. I just wish that it wasn't, that wasn't the main thing people focused on with that theory, I guess. Cause I think it's so much more interesting to think about a game in terms of or to think of Majora's Mask from a subtext and what are the themes and the meaning behind the game, not what is the explanation for what Termina is and Link being dead. Okay, what's next? What else do we got? What else can we do? The Cult of Masks? Okay. Oh, that's 25 minutes. Jeez. Demise Origins, The Ruins of Hyrule. Top 10, another top 10 Zelda 3s. Do we want to watch this? I think that this thumbnail is just clickbaity enough to make me want to click it. See, Ashley, hope you had a good time. Also, oh, there was a question in chat I wanted to respond to. What was it? Oh, someone asked about Boys from 2000X. The new episode of that is hopefully going to be done before the end of April. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get it done before my vacation now, but there is a second episode that's getting close to completion. All right, let's do it. Top 10 Zelda theories. Two ads in a row? How dare.
The top 10 Zelda theories.
Yeah, just start the video with the title. That's professional.
Hi, I'm Loxton.
And I'm Dr. Wily, a Zelda expert here to help.
Then let's start with number 10. Ocarina of Time Link married Malon. Our evidence? First, she has a huge crush on Link in the game, and her father is very fond of Link too. So I mean, obviously. But more concretely, the Gossip Stones. Outside of the Temple of Time, there is a Gossip Stone that states that Malon dreams of a knight in shining armor. Secondly, in Hyrule Historia, it is confirmed that the hero's shade is the Link from Ocarina of Time and the ancestor of Link in Twilight Princess, meaning here, Link from Ocarina of Time is in shining armor, also meaning he lived long enough to have children of his own. But we're not done yet, as Link in Twilight Princess also happens to know Epona's song, which Malon stated her mother sang to her as a baby. It may be that the song was passed down for generations from Malon and eventually to Twilight Princess Link.
Number 9.
Yeah, my thoughts on that theory is always like, yeah, that's an acceptable headcanon. I wouldn't say it's like proven or anything like that, but I'm like, yeah, you can headcanon that. Like, there's enough there to work with. Honestly, like, if you put a gun to my head or something, it was like, who did the Ocarina of Time Link wind up with? Like, I would probably say Malon.
Ganondorf is a reference to the Antichrist. At the end of Skyward Sword Demise, the Demon King said he would return in a body of hatred, essentially meaning an Antichrist would come. And we know that this rebirth is in the form of Ganondorf. Also, in the Bible, at Daniel chapter 9 verse 27, when referencing the Antichrist, it says, "He will confirm a covenant with many for 1/7, and at the temple he will set up an abomination that causes desolation, until the end that is decreed is poured out on him." In short, this means that the Antichrist will rule for...
What the fuck is this picture? What is this, like, CGI-ass Satan over here? And the whitest fucking Jesus I've ever seen.
7 days, and cause the land to become barren and...
I'm pretty sure Jesus ain't more Caucasian than me. What the fuck? He's fucking arm wrestling. That's like look, that's 100% like not even his actual facial hair. That is a beard wig type thing. What the fuck? That was my high school religion teacher's desktop background. Oh no. Like, did they legitimately just find a random white dude and, like, Photoshop a Jesus beard onto him? Like, that's such weird facial hair. Like, his mustache is so much longer than, like, his beard.
Until he is
What?
defeated. In the context of Zelda, this lines up perfectly with the fact that Ganondorf reigned over Hyrule for 7 years, which caused Hyrule to become a wasteland, before being defeated by Link.
Number 8. Link is dead in Majora's Mask.
As for, like, the Antichrist one, that's, like, another one. Is like, okay, yeah, some symbolism. I don't know if that's, like, super intentional, because all those Skyward Sword details came out, like, way later than Ocarina of Time. And, like, it might just be a coincidence, like, 7 is, like, considered, like, a magical or, like, important number or whatever, both, like, biblically and, like, just in general. because like lucky sevens, like seven's a big deal in Harry Potter, like seven's a big deal in a lot of things. So I guess it's like kind of like referencey, but I don't know if I would like outright say he's the Antichrist. Hey, Aaron, how's it going? Oh, I'm glad you liked Aladdin, Aaron. Jason, frustrated. I was doing a marathon day and 2 people just left in the middle of it. Oh, like a running marathon? Like people just pieced out of the marathon like halfway through? That's unfortunate.
At the beginning of the game, Link falls down a deep hole and presumably dies here. From this point forward, Majora's Mask is very odd compared to other Zeldas. Odd and dark. Easily the darkest of Zelda games. And every stage in the game represents one of the 5 stages of grief. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
Here
We start at the Clock Town, where the people are denying that the moon is coming down. At the swamp, the king is angry and lashing out because his daughter is missing. At Snow Mountain, a Goron begs Link to bring him back to life. He is bargaining. Lulu the Zora loses her eggs and falls into a deep depression. And lastly, Ikana Valley is filled with death, as well as many people's acceptance of their harsh realities. The item at the end of the dungeon is the light arrow, symbolizing enlightenment,
Oh, that sucks, Samus.
acceptance, or perhaps even the light at the end of the tunnel. Going through these stages of grief would indicate Link is in some sort of purgatory, a place in between heaven and hell. Also, Termina, the name of the land he's in, means terminal, which means the end.
Number 7. The official Zelda timeline is wrong.
You can't do that. I mean, you can, but why would you do that? Like, okay, I should let them. I'll let them do their bit.
The Zelda timeline admittedly is a bit confusing, claiming that during the events of Ocarina of Time, the timeline was split into 3 parts. One where Ganon was sealed away and Link got sent back to his own timeline. Then there's the timeline that has no Link at all, because he was sent back. And there's one where Link died at the hands of Ganon and Ganon won. However, some have theorized that this is incorrect, because it would mean every minor possible change would create a new timeline because of the multiverse theory. Every possibility is canon in the multiverse. So every time Link could die, he does. And so the timeline should really look like this. So every different outcome creates a new timeline. For example, if you punch a cuckoo in Kakariko Village and die because of it, then there will be another universe where you didn't punch the cuckoo and survived. In other words, every possibility is canon in some universe.
Number 6,
That's yes. Wait. Do I agree with them? Fuck. Wait. How is that disagreeing with the timeline? Like... What? Okay. Like... Because, okay, so my, like, I've always personally been, like, I'm not a huge... Like, I've always been on the record that, the Fallen Hero timeline is an ass pull by Nintendo. It has generally been, like, my opinion, in that they essentially, like... Okay, wait. Let me pull up a picture of the Zelda timeline. Let's go through this. Give me a second. Okay. So, like... Yeah, basically, the Hero is Defeated timeline, where they threw Link to the Past, Oracle of Ages, and Oracle of Seasons, Link's Awakening, the original 2 Zelda games, and then the Link Between Worlds is a sequel to Link to the Past, and then Triforce Heroes is like a sequel to Link Between Worlds, right? But so this right here, this is the these don't fucking fit pile of games. And that is perfectly okay. They are allowed to do that. If they want to have a timeline and they want everything to be up here, like, this is probably the best way to do it. But, like, this was just a way to be like, okay, if the hero was defeated in Ocarina of Time, we could kind of work that around into Link to the Past lore, and then we can, like, take the games that followed from Link to the Past and kind of, like, fit them in from there. Because they did not start caring about a Zelda timeline until Wind Waker. I 100% believe that. They did not care about any of this stuff until they had, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Like, Majora's Mask was a sequel to Ocarina of Time. And then they were like, we could also do, like, a sequel to, like, reference Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker. And then, like, Twilight Princess was when they really, like, cemented these, like, things. Kind of. But, like, saying that the timeline is wrong because the hero could be defeated a million different ways and everyone's gonna play the game differently, like, then you're just getting into a logic loop over, like, what is canon, because it's like, well, technically, like, whenever I first played Ocarina of Time, Link was named Josh. So, like, is it canon that Link's name is Link, or is it canon that Link's name is Josh? Because I had a different experience there. Like, I died here and this player died there. Like, once you start getting into, like, game mechanics being reflected in your timeline, that just gets super messy. And, like, the fact that you have, like, a timeline, like, this is when these games take place, that doesn't mean there isn't other, like, off-splits. Like, if you are going with a multiverse thing, then, like, yeah, by definition, there's there's an infinite amount of possible universes. But that doesn't make this wrong. That just makes, like, Majora's Mask takes place in a timeline where this thing happened, where the hero was triumphant and went back to being a child. But, like it's just like focusing too much on semantics. But I guess I am, like, I would prefer that theory of someone being, like, really pedantic about, like, how the timeline, or, like, how often the timeline splits, rather than being like, Nintendo was wrong, Link to the Past actually comes between, like, Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess or something. Orange Marie the Squid, thank you for the 5 biddies. Josh, it's been so long since I watched you, a year exactly, so I wanted to drop in and say hi because I missed you in your streams. Well, thank you, Orange Marie. I remember your username, actually. So thank you for coming back to the stream. And Sarah, thank you for the 36 biddies. Ganon kidnaps Zelda because he's jealous that she likes Link and wants Link to himself, but that's just a theory, a gay theory. Oh, dear. My feeling about the timeline, Zelda doesn't really need a proper cohesive timeline. My whole stance on the timeline is that use the timeline whenever, like, there's an advantage. Like, I think Wind Waker is vastly improved by having callbacks to Ocarina of Time and being the same Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time. I like all the connections between Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker. I like all the connections between Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time and stuff like that. So I think whenever it makes sense, like, the timeline can be a good thing. But I'm also, like, I'm totally fine with Breath of the Wild being, like, potentially at the end of any of these. Or, like, I would have even been fine if they say, yeah, Breath of the Wild, like, isn't in the timeline. It's a completely new thing. So, like, timeline, something like, if it has a positive contribution, I accept it. If it wouldn't, I'm fine with ignoring it, I guess. But I also, like, I just did a double take whenever they were like, the Zelda timeline is wrong. And it's like, you don't get to decide that if you're doing fan theories. Like, fan theories is like, fan theories is people being like, what would be a cool way to fill in this blank that hasn't officially been like filled in yet? You can't just be like if you start getting into like, oh, this thing like that Nintendo said is actually wrong, like then you're getting into alternate universe like fan stuff, which is still valid. Like AU fanfic is like a big deal, but like don't be like, this is secretly the secret meaning. Nintendo lied to you with this. They want you to figure out the actual secret. Like that's, oh boy. Okay. Let's get back into this. We're not even halfway through this video yet.
Mask was made by the Twilight. In Twilight Princess, we see a very special mask, the Fused Shadow. Now, this got a lot of people thinking. Could there be a connection between Majora's Mask and the Fused Shadow? Well, there are actually some strong arguments for this one. For example, the masks look very similar. If we take a look at the masks, then we can clearly see that the eyes from both masks look identical. How odd. But this is not where the similarities end, oh no, my friend. The creators of the Fused Shadow were the Interlopers, an ancient tribe that excelled in dark magic, that was later banished from Hyrule by the gods. Later on, the Interlopers turned into the Twilight, who appear to use masks quite often. When Link first gets the Ordon shield, Midna attempts to wear it on her face, and during the cutscene in Twilight Princess in which Princess Zelda surrenders, Xanth's bodyguards are wearing special metal masks over their faces, suggesting that masks are a big part of their culture. And when the background story of Majora's Mask is explained, they mention that it was used by an ancient tribe who later vanished, just like the Interlopers who were banished to the Twilight Realm and became the Twilight. So who knows? Maybe the answer is easier than we all thought.
Number 5.
That's a theory I would actually, you know what? Like 99.9% of fan theories, even the ones I agree with, like 90% of even the fan theories where I'm like, oh, that would be a cool headcanon. Even with those, I'm like, okay, the developers like 100%, or like the original makers 100% like didn't intend that. Like that's not a secret or like anything to be like figured out. That's just like a neat headcanon. Yeah, even the ones that I'm like, that's cool headcanon, I don't think the developers intended. That right there, I could probably be convinced that they were like, that could be a thing. That the developers were like, okay, this is actually the same tribe from Majora's Mask. We're just not going to outright say it. And I like the fact they didn't really outright say it. I'd probably be more convinced if there was a bit more pointing in that direction, but like I could probably be convinced that that theory's like was intended by someone on the development team. I could definitely be convinced of that.
5. Dragon Roost Island is Death Mountain. Now, Dragon Roost Island is a huge volcano island in the Great Sea, but we have seen a similar volcano before in a different Zelda game. Death Mountain from Ocarina of Time.
I would accept this too.
Dragon Roost Cavern is very similar to the Fire Temple from The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, which supports the theory that Dragon Roost Island may be Death Mountain itself. Now besides this, there are a lot of other arguments for this theory. For example, carvings of a dragon are found.
Ooh. Reitmans. Wait, is that confirmed somewhere? That Dragon Roost is Death Mountain?
Throughout the cavern. However, they do not resemble the dragon deity Falu, and are instead more snake-like in appearance. The dragon depicted in the cave drawings could possibly be Volvagia, the enemy of the Gorons and the Fire Temple boss from Ocarina of Time. Now, when we approach Dragon Roost Island, we can see a ring of smoke on top in the beginning of the game, similar to Death Mountain's ring of smoke in Ocarina of Time. The location of Dragon Roost is similar to that of Death Mountain in Ocarina of Time. Both are the only large volcanoes visible for miles. Both have lava domes almost reaching their caps, and both have the highest above sea elevation that can be found in the game. Bomb flowers are found growing plentiful on both, and according to a Goron in Ocarina of Time, those plants growing over there are bomb flowers. They are mining plants that grow only on this mountain. So this would suggest that Dragon Roost Island is Death Mountain after the flood that occurred somewhere between Ocarina of Time and the Wind Waker. So at least something survived. The Great Flood.
Number 4, every Zelda game is a dream. Have you noticed that every Zelda game begins with Link waking up? Every single game? Link is supposedly this super courageous adventurer, yet he has the hardest time waking up. Well, as the theory goes, this is because in every game, Link is waking up into a new dream. Sometimes it's awesome, sometimes it's a nightmare, but eventually he wakes up, but in another dream. This theory doesn't mess with the timeline at all, because this is more just the order he has his dreams. And this would explain basically every unexplained thing in the Zelda franchise also. Every little weird thing that seems slightly out of place, it's fine, because it's a dream, and dreams don't have to follow the rules.
Number
Okay. Here's a question. If every Zelda game is a dream, what does that change? How does that impact the series? What would be the reason for the developers to decide, okay, this did not happen. This is a dream made up by our main character. Like that is the main thing that bugs me about it was all a dream like theories, cuz it's like, cuz 99% of the time, like, it would change nothing. It would change absolutely nothing if Ocarina of Time was a dream, because either way, and I'm sorry if this is a spoiler to some people. I'm sorry if you haven't figured, if anyone hasn't figured this out yet. And it took me a long time to come to grips with this. But Ocarina of Time isn't real. Like, it doesn't matter if a fictional story is a character's dream or not, unless there's like they explicitly show that. And if they explicitly show that, there would have to be a reason for it. Like, there would have to, like, if your story is a dream, there has to be a reason that this didn't actually take place to a character. Because otherwise, why on earth would I care that this fictional story I'm experiencing didn't, like, really happen? But it's like, of course it didn't really happen, because it's a work of art. It didn't actually happen. Like, it's the same with like any story, like Breaking Bad. That was a big thing for a while. Everyone's like, the entire last episode's a dream. And it's like, but what would that change? Like what actually would be impacted in the story if that didn't actually happen? Because it's like a fictional story anyways. Like, it's just so weird. Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, like, let's say, like, it was a dream. Like, this was, like, the secret meaning behind it. Like, what would that actually change? What would be the point of having everything be a dream? Like, that would not change the player experience at all, I don't think. It's just so bizarre. I don't know. Okay, let's get back into this.
Follow the rules.
Number 3. Multiple Ganons? We all know that throughout the...
Percy, what did I tell you about your fan theory? I told you should share it with the class. Oh, what a good bub. What a good bub. What are you doing, Percy? Come here. Up on my lap. Fine, never mind. Never mind.
Zelda franchise, there are multiple Links and multiple Zeldas, all ancestors and descendants of each other. However, Ganondorf is the same guy throughout, first appearing in the timeline in Ocarina of Time, but he dies and gets sealed away repeatedly. And just as repeatedly, he gets resurrected or released, or so we are told. As this theory states, there are actually a number of Ganondorfs too. We know that Demise said that his hatred will be reincarnated and attack in a cycle without end, which doesn't exactly state that there will only be a single Ganondorf. In fact, it could be interpreted to mean just the opposite. The main bit of evidence for this theory comes from Ganondorf's origin stories in Four Swords and Ocarina of Time. They both conflict. In Four Swords, he is born in the Desert of Doubt, and stole a trident that allows him to turn into Ganon. And in Ocarina, he is the king of the Gerudo and does not become Ganon until he gains the power of the Triforce of Power. To add to this, in Four Swords, Zelda called Ganon an ancient demon reborn, and in the Wind Waker, Ganondorf called Link the hero of time reborn. We know that this is a different Link. So is this line in Four Swords implying that this is a different Ganon? Now that's something to think about.
Yeah, that's like, I don't think that's a theory. That's like outright canon that Four Swords Adventure has a different Ganon than the rest of the series. Yeah, that's not really a theory. I think that's like that's just explicit. Yeah, every other Ganon's the same guy. They're like, I was briefly confused for a second because it's like Twilight Princess and Wind Waker Ganon, but like they are the same dude, just on like a different timeline split. But yeah, no, like the Four Swords Adventure, like that's just always been a thing, that it was a separate Ganon. Which, and exactly, like, Four Swords Adventure is one of those, these games don't fit timeline, so, like, that kind of explains that, but, like, I didn't think it was, like, a thing that, like, there could only be one Ganondorf type thing.
Number 2, Navi is dead. Navi is a prime icon of 90s gamers. Even if you never played Ocarina of Time, you eventually learned about Navi through a multitude of, funny videos. Navi, shut up. Haha, lol, you like my meme? Navi, be quiet, is annoying, haha, lol. But really, Navi is Link's companion, and while she may be annoying, she loves Link, and Link loves her. They share a great bond. But for whatever reason, after defeating Ganon, with no goodbye, no hint at all about where she's going, she leaves, ascends into the light. After going through an entire adventure, she abandons you. But why? Because she was dead all along? No, not really, but because she is dying. Where do fairies go when Link uses them to heal? They fly around Link and then evaporate. Link absorbs health from them and they disappear. Navi may be a special kind of fairy and can last much longer. The kind of fairies given to the Kokiris may be these long-term fairies, but as we know, Link is a Hylian, only raised by Kokiris. So he may be slowly absorbing the life from Navi, and so, after their adventure was done, after Navi fulfilled her purpose, she left. She couldn't bear to have Link watch her die, so she leaves to die alone. And thus, the 5 stages of grief that are clearly represented in Majora's Mask are those of Link's, his grief for his lost friend.
Like, kinda? Ish? Like, yes, Navi leaves once their quest is done, because she was sent by the Great Deku Tree, but that... The idea of tying that into, like, well, Link kills all the other fairies disappear when Link, like, gets his health. It's, like, the fairies in the game, or that you use it as an item, are a game mechanic, and then Navi is a fairy because it was really useful from a game design perspective to have a little ball of light that could show what you're currently targeting. Like, I don't think it was some big conspiracy to be like, you're using up this fairy the entire game. But yeah, like, just the implications that, like, her job's done, and so she has to go do something. She has another purpose out there as a fairy, or something was how I always took it, I guess.
Besides, the whole reason Link was in the Lost Woods was to look for Navi, but he would not find her, because she is no more.
They have
If
1
only
minute
Link
left in
had
the video.
listened.
What's the
And
last one?
finally, number 1. The Aku created Hyrule. Now the Aku are strange beings. Just look at it. The body of a cuckoo and a human head. Now despite their weird biology, it is said that these creatures are actually very intelligent. For example, they are the creators of the Dominion Rod and the Sky Cannon, even though you would not really expect it. And Shad, who's an Aku expert, also has some interesting statements about these creatures. But what kind of evidence is there for this? Are there any solid arguments? Well, there are a couple of very good ones, but there's one problem here. We are running out of time. So to learn more about this crazy Zelda theory, and Nintendo games in general, go visit my channel where I made an in-depth video about this strange theory about the Aku. And guess who's joining me there?
If you haven't figured it out, it's me.
I appreciate the hustle, but don't do that when you make a top 10 video. Oh, dear. Do we... Wait, what? None of these are clickable links. Oh, because this is an older video. There's no annotations. Well, okay. Zelda Theory: The Lost Prince? Who made Bongo Bongo? Oh my god. 45 minutes. Oh my god. Mystery Heroes of Hyrule. Link's true home in Breath of the Wild. Who clawed the tree in Lake Hylia? I actually kind of want to watch this. I have a fan theory. Joshua McDougal is actually dead. Come on, man. You can't just spoil. Come on. They did top 10 Zelda fan theories part 2 after this awful, awful thumbnail? Wait, how far apart were these? Top 10 Zelda fan theories, October 4th, 2017. December 17th, 2017. You waited 2 months and then you did another one? Oh, no. All right, let's do this. Oh, God. What is my life? What is happening? Oh, hey, Percy. Percy's been at my feet for like the past half hour. I should look up Vortexy Gaming's dungeon videos. Okay, yeah, I'll look up Vortexy Gaming after this one.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. I'm your host Kelly Pally, and today we're returning to a list you all really adored the last time around, the Top 10 Zelda Fan Theories Part 2. Since these theories have some serious heft behind them, let's just jump right in.
Okay, I really need to emphasize, I am not making fun of any of the people that are like hosting or making these videos. I'm not making fun of that at all. I do not mean to like to come across that way or anything like that. I am not shitting on any YouTubers, but what I will shit on is channels like this, like Top 10 Gaming, because okay. I'm gonna make a bet right here that this is gonna have like a video, like multiple videos a day. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, at least a video a day. Scariest Yoshi creepypastas. So this is one of those channels that put out like a video a day. They have a whole bunch of different people, and they just need to put out as much content as possible is how these channels work. So this is 100%. We made this video in like 4 hours and did not have the time to properly like look up or to properly tell our host like how to pronounce these names. So this is 100% like this poor host girl or whatever. Like, I could be wrong. I shouldn't really assume, but I'm gonna bet that she is just reading off a teleprompter and they just had enough time to make this video to do the first take. If they are beforehand telling people that stuff's gonna be mispronounced, they 100% like made this video as quick as possible. Ooh.
And at number 10 are rupees aren't gems. Many video games allow for an unrealistic inventory size, but it's something we generally suspend our disbelief over. For some, that is. This theory spawns from the idea that it wouldn't be possible for Link to carry the large amounts of rupees that one is capable of collecting in the games. The theory suggests that rupees are actually a currency of energy, and that the gems we encounter are simply containers for said energy. And at number 9 is the fierce deity's identity.
Like, I was pausing to respond to that first theory, but fierce deity. That takes the cake. Okay. But that, like, I think that, like, my personal theory on this channel, I think just might have gotten proven. Because, like, that should be, that's not a Zelda specific word. It's fine to, like, mispronounce that. Like, there's always going to be words that you, like, have only seen in writing before and you don't know how to pronounce. Like, no judging against her at all. But, like, they definitely did not have time for a second take if they did not catch deity.
There's a few theories kicking around as to where the fierce deity stands. One suggests the fierce deity is a god, and Majora is actually a demon. The fierce deity has a gold triangle on its chest, which has led to speculation that it's the fourth piece of the Triforce. Additionally, other fans think that the fierce deity is evil, a much more powerful evil than Majora, who fears it. Then on top of that, there's the theory that it's Link's counterpart, since everyone in Hyrule has a counterpart in Termina. And at number 8 is the Kokiri extinction. During Ocarina of Time, we witnessed two different timelines with Link in his childhood and Link in his adulthood. In his childhood timeline, the Kokiri are a peaceful forest race, and are quite present. And in his adulthood, after the Deku Tree dies, at the end of the first dungeon as an adult, the dead tree drops a seed which begins to sprout. But when Link is sent back into his child timeline, he doesn't replant the Deku Tree seed. In Twilight Princess, which occurs in his childhood timeline, there are no Kokiri. This has led many to speculate that their race goes extinct since there is no Deku Tree to protect them, with Link unintentionally being the culprit. And at number 7 is Parallel Dimensions. With this,
why is it always gotta be something like this thing from Ocarina of Time that was kind of cute? It's actually super depressing. Wait, how did she pronounce Kokiri?
witnessed two different timelines, and at number 8 is the Kokiri extinction. During Ocarina of Time, we witnessed two different timelines with Link in his childhood and Link in his adulthood. In his childhood timeline, the Kokiri are a peaceful forest race, and are quite present. And in his adulthood, after the Deku Tree dies, at the end of the first dungeon as an adult, the dead tree drops a seed which begins to sprout. But when Link is sent back into his child timeline, he doesn't replant the Deku Tree seed. In Twilight Princess, which occurs in his childhood timeline, there are no Kokiri. This has led
yeah, she's 100% just reading off a teleprompter.
many to speculate that their race goes extinct since there is no Deku Tree to protect them, with Link unintentionally being the culprit. And at number 7 is Parallel Dimensions.
Interesting.
With this one being questionable due to the official timelines we've been given, some have speculated that the games happen in parallel dimensions. This theory spawned from Breath of the Wild, operating under the idea that its plot takes place eons after the previous games, which led them to question how discrepancies like the Temple of Time, Rito from Wind Waker, and places being named after characters could exist in that game. Enter the games occurring in parallel dimensions, where they reflect one another, similar to the multiverses we find in comic books. And at number 6,
I think I need to watch that again.
potentially being the culprit. And at number 7 is Parallel Dimensions. With this one being questionable due to the official timelines we've been given, some have speculated that the games happen in parallel dimensions. This theory spawned from Breath of the Wild, operating under the idea that its plot takes place eons after the previous games, which led them to question how discrepancies like the Temple of Time, Rito from Wind Waker, and places being named after characters could exist in that game. Enter the games occurring in parallel dimensions, where they reflect one another, similar to the multiverses we find in comic books. And at
Can somebody please explain to me how a parallel dimension is a different thing than multiple timelines? I feel like we're going to get real existential up in here. But how are those different concepts? What? Like, on top of the whole fact that, like it's always been a thing in Zelda that, like, location names, like, might be tied to characters that were, like, thousands of years before or, like, something like that. But, like, the idea is parallel dimension was never concurrent while the time split was once concurrent. But, like, what difference does that make once it's been split? Like, if anything, that would, like, if you were going to make that argument, that would make more sense to be, like, it's not parallel dimensions, the timeline split at some point. So that's why you can go back far enough in time to get these names that places are named after. Like, the opposite argument seems to make more sense. What is happening? I mean, I wouldn't call Low Rule a different timeline, just a parallel dimension. I guess that's, like, if you've got, like I guess, like, like, Termina and Low Rule would be, like, would, I guess, be, like, more similar to, like, a different dimension. I don't know if I'd call parallel. That seems, like, too close, but... Like, that's breaking my brain, being like, it's not a split timeline, it's parallel dimensions that are both called Hyrule and have had very similar histories, except for one change that happened a long time ago, where if they were the same up before that point, aka you could call it a split timeline. Okay.
Number 6 is Super Mario 3 stage play. While this theory has been somewhat confirmed, specifically that Super Mario 3 is a stage play, another theory links that game to Hyrule.
Wait,
the basis of this is
what? I wasn't paying attention at first.
Super Mario 3 stage play. While this theory has been somewhat confirmed, specifically that Super Mario 3 is a stage play, another theory links that game to Hyrule. The basis of this is that there's a few Super Mario references in the franchise, like the Super Mario Mask in Majora's Mask, and the Bowser clasp that appears in a few games. And the Mario Warp Whistle is similar to the whistle-esque instrument in the first Zelda game. I mean, hey, it could just be Nintendo crossover, but there's a lot of little things that keep popping up. And at number 5,
Wait, Was that argument... Like, I want to see where they're sourcing these fan theories from, because they're doing, like, really short descriptions of them. But, like, what does, like... Okay, so is the implication here that Mario Bros. 3 is a stage play that gets put on in the Zelda universe? Like, is that what they're trying to say? That in the Zelda universe, Mario is a fictional character that instead of being a video game character, he's, like... a famous theater character because they don't have the technology for like TV or like stuff like that. Because that's like, I guess that's like acceptable as being like a fan theory, but they didn't actually say that. Like, she's just like, the Mario Bros. 3 is a stage play theory. That was confirmed for the Mario Bros. 3 game, but does it have a connection to Zelda? Mario's been in Zelda. Number 5. Like, that's really weird. I'm so confused. Logan, thank you for the 10 biddies. Since Ashley left, I'm taking number 2 back. Thank you very much, Logan. That's very appreciated. Oh my gosh.
5 is the Gerudo race evolved into Twilight. A few fans have noted that the Gerudo have all but disappeared from the games, despite evidence of their civilization being prominent in Twilight Princess. Ganondorf being the one male Gerudo born every 100 years.
I don't... Okay. Again, I am not making fun of this lady. It is probably just her job to read whatever is on that teleprompter, and that is all power to her. That is, like, you go, girl. But Gerudo is objectively funny.
Was their king and led them into battle against Hyrule. They lost and their population dwindled. Those that remained fled through the Mirror of Twilight, the gateway to the Twilight Realm that you find in the Gerudo Desert. This theory is also supported by Midna telling Link that her people's king fell because of his greed, which some fans have read into as a reference to Ganondorf. And at number 4 is...
Like... Does that one make sense? That seems like... Yeah, I don't think that timing works out for the Gerudo to be the Twilight. Like, they were way before Ocarina of Time shit. And yeah, Ganondorf's an alien entity of the Twilight. The entire thing is that Ganondorf has a different magic than they do. And that's why Xant's able to, like, kind of conquer them. Because they're not used to that shit. Okay.
Temples in Ocarina of Time. This theory revolves around the idea that the temples in Hyrule in the game are remnants of a holy war. The temples are filled with traps, and incredibly hard to get through at times, plus in complete ruins despite holding very valuable and powerful magical artifacts. This theory suggests that the temples are in this condition because there was a holy war, and that the religion the temples belonged to were eradicated. But the structures still remain despite being damaged. The traps suggest that someone didn't want their magic to be used again, hence the difficulty in traversing through them. The theory by Reddit user The Purple Ghost dives into specifics for each temple and how the areas around them have been tampered with, in a way that feels like they were intentionally secluded. And the full theory is definitely worth checking out. And
did you link to the full theory? They did not. See you, Mr. Nintendo. Hope you had a good time. And thank you, Usagi, for the 15 biddies. Like... Okay, actually, you know what? I'm gonna go on the record. I kind of like that fan theory. I like the idea that there was a religious war going on in Hyrule, and they were like, how best wage this war? I know. We'll wait till people... we'll wait till all these, like, this other religion, this other sect of our religion, decides to come into our temple, and then we're gonna fucking Home Alone them. Like, I really like that mental image of a bunch of, like, Gorons being around, like, those fucking Kakiri. can't believe they believe almost the exact same thing we do, but like just in slightly different ways. Who do they think they are? You know what? We're just gonna hang out where it's really hot, and we're gonna put some friggin' blades on the floor. And if anyone comes in here and they weren't killed by the volcano, they're gonna get a cut on their toe, and that's gonna piss them off, and they'll go away and they'll be like, yeah, my religion sucks. I'm gonna switch to the religion of these guys that have the volcano and floor blades.
Number 3, Twilight Princess villains created Majora's Mask. We've talked a lot about Majora's Mask, especially in our previous list, and with a game that rich, it shouldn't be a surprise that more theories circulating it are on this list too. Anyway, this one deals with the Twilight Princess baddies and them creating the Majora's Mask. Long story short, the Sheikah end up getting lost in the Lost Woods, travel through the wormhole to Termina, and create the Majora's Mask in order to channel an ancient demon's power. They end up building the stone tower as a tribute to its power, but then they got cocky, and the mask's power got out of control. But the fierce deity saved them, and teleported them back to Hyrule, with no time passing at all there. Twilight Princess occurs earlier in the timeline than Majora's Mask, so it could possibly make sense. And other fans have noticed that there's some similar aesthetics between the two games. And at number 2 is Link is Dead. This theory revolves around Majora's Mask as an offshoot of the
I like how it's not even Link is dead in Majora's Mask. It's just, the other theory is Link is dead. Next up on our list, we have the number 2 option, where we just need to tell you that these video games you've been loving and enjoying, you're fucking dead. They didn't happen. Stop enjoying
5
this.
stages of grief theory that we mentioned in our last list. This theory suggests that Link is in purgatory and is dead. What supports it? The fall through the hole, the almost existential search for a lost friend, Navi, who is likely dead if that theory pans out, and that all the different cities in Termina match up with the 5 stages of grief. Link needs to traverse all of these in order to accept his own death and move on. Plus, Link has an elegy statue like the other characters, all of which appear rather morbid. And finally, at number 1 is Breath of the Wild timeline. Speaking of Link being dead, let's talk about Breath of the Wild. The game opens up with Link waking up, as per usual, except this time he's in a place called the Shrine of Resurrection, hinting to the idea that Link had died. Now let's jump back to Ocarina here. The only time Link's death has been canon was in the alternate timeline in Ocarina, the one called The Heroes Defeated, leading to Ganon destroying Hyrule. And what's happening in Breath of the Wild? This is led to the speculation that Breath of the Wild is the result of that alternate timeline. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I just had to double check there for a second to see if this came out before Breath of the Wild. That, because Link died in the Fallen Hero timeline, and Link wakes up in a Shrine of Resurrection like 100,000 years later in Breath of the Wild, they have to be the same timeline? This is like a billion bajillion years after Ocarina of Time. Lots of Links have died. Do they have a part 3? Ah! They do! No! No! Oh, no! No! Ah, shit. All right, we got part 3 coming up, and then we got top 10 scary Zelda urban legends we got to do. Are y'all ready for this? I swear. Okay, we will do some like good Zelda theories after this, but we're going full tilt. We're doing this. Holy shit-a-moly. I need to take my clothes off. It's getting heated in here. Oh.
There's no short.
Oh, she got a new shirt. That's nice.
There's no shortage of fan theories when you've got a franchise like The Legend of Zelda on your hands. So today we're diving in yet again into our list of the most interesting, most intriguing, and most mind-blowing fan theories that we could dig up on the good old...
Jish, are you doing an Mystery Science Theater 3000 of Zelda theories? I think I am. Honestly, like, you know what? Honestly, I might have to go back through this VOD later and be like, is this, like, funny enough to put, like, on YouTube or something? Oh, God. Wait, top recommended 107 Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild facts you should know. Is that what you're looking at, Shauna? Or top 10 scary Zelda urban legends? Oh no. Top 10 craziest Mario fan theories? Yeah, we gotta watch all these. Oh boy. Strap yourselves in, gang. Whew.
Interwebs with our list of the top 10 Zelda fan theories. Part 3. In at 10, how the Gerudo reproduce. Ever since we first encountered the Gerudo in Ocarina of Time, there's been speculation as to why the race consists primarily of women, minus the one male who is born every 100 years to be their king. More specifically, the theories are concerned with how the race manages to reproduce in between those every 100 years. We know that...
Sorry, y'all. I need to type down my idea for my next hit Zelda theory video. Do the Gerudo fuck? The answer might surprise you.
that they travel to nearby towns to mate with males there, yet the Gerudo women still maintain a consistency that doesn't look like other races have bred with them. One person on Reddit came up with the theory that they reproduce via something like gynogenesis, which is a process when the development of an embryo contains only maternal chromosomes, due to activation of an egg by a sperm that degenerates without fusing with the egg nucleus, which creates clone-like offspring, meaning that could explain why they all look so similar. This even helps justify why every 100 years a male is born. The male DNA is typically never carried over, but sometimes it is in rare cases, which is why you get males like Ganondorf, who have other traits of other cultures, like his pointy ears, meaning he could have had a Hylian father. And at number 9,
okay, just to put it out there, it is as far as I know, it is confirmed in Ocarina of Time through a gossip stone that they go out and they find they refer to it as finding boyfriends with other races in Hyrule and stuff like that. But was that theory literally the Gerudo have never stopped being brown, so obviously they use cloning? What the fuck? What? Oh my god. Oh my god.
the Ghost Hunter's identity. The Ghost Hunter has popped up twice during the Legend of Zelda franchise, and his identity has always been a mystery that has eluded fans. In his first appearance in Ocarina of Time, he sets up the Ghost Shop in the ruins of the Hyrule Castle town, where he buys Poes whose souls you've trapped in a bottle. He also claims to be capable of reading people's minds. Plus, he has one glowing red eye, which is the only thing visible beneath his hood. Naturally, a few theories have come out of the woodwork about who exactly this Ghost Hunter could be, one being that he was a Hyrulean soldier who Link meets when he is a child, inside that house that would eventually become the Ghost Shop after the town was destroyed. The soldier tells Link that he has an interest in ghosts. In addition to this, other fans have a theory that the Ghost Hunter's identity is the boy who was playing in the Kakariko graveyard, since the stick he would play with bears a similarity to the Ghost Hunters, and the kid is never seen again when Link is an adult. Up next, number 8, the
Wait, that actually seemed like reasonable. Did it? I think. Oh no! Oh my goodness. Hey Wallet, how's it going? Thank you very much for the raid, Balrog's Game Room. Oh my goodness. Y'all showed up for a treat right now. Y'all showed up for a treat. Defenders, I need those Percy emotes to defend our honor. We are currently going through YouTube and we are currently going through YouTube and we are reacting to, we've been going through these top 10 Zelda fan theories videos made by this top 10 gaming channel. We were just starting doing like Zelda theories in general, but we've fallen down a rabbit hole, y'all. It has been nuts. Also, I forgot to update the box here. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Mayin, for the 100 biddies. That's very appreciated. Welcome to everyone that's showing up. This raid is a raid of a stream that got raided. Ooh. Who did you guys get the raid from? What were you streaming today, Walid? Hey, Percy, come here. Say hi to the new people. Say hi to the new people. Come here. Kitty cat break. Come here, bub. Whoa. Look at this good cat. Raidception. Too many raids happening. Oh my goodness. Okay, Percy doesn't want to sit here. But I'll let him out of the room. Boop. There you go, bub. Okay. So, let's get right back into this. Ooh. Percy will come back at some point. Alright, number 8. Let's find out what this is.
The Happy Mask Salesman isn't alive. The Happy Mask Salesman is another character who makes multiple appearances in the franchise over the years, but his most prominent is in Majora's Mask, where he implies that he may be more than just a masked salesman. While there's a lot of theories about his background and identity, one of which argues that he might actually be Majora, one of the more interesting speculations is that perhaps he's a ghost. In Majora's Mask, he tells you that a very important mask was stolen from him, Majora's Mask itself, and upon finding you, he gives you a mission to retrieve it. He says that he went to great lengths to retrieve it in the first place, which he never gives you any details about. Maybe he died. After you defeat Majora and save Termina, you end up giving the now vacant mask to the Happy Mask Salesman, who then walks away and vanishes. Kind of like that unfinished business concept, when a ghost can finally move on once they've completed a task that's been bounding them to the world. Their unfinished business. And at number 7,
So, that entire theory was like, the Happy Mask Salesman, he says, I went through a lot to get this mask, and then it's just, maybe he died. We don't know. Maybe he stubbed his toe. Maybe when he was like out on the town trying to find some info about Majora's Mask, he's like, you know what? It's been a while since I had Chipotle. I think I can handle some Chipotle. Like, gastronomically, I'm feeling pretty good right now. So he went and got some Chipotle, and then, uh-oh. Kind of had the bad poops. So maybe that's what he went through to get the mask. My theory is just as valid. Okay? Oh, no. Oh, thank you everyone that's hitting that follow button. That is very appreciated, y'all. Percy? What's the matter? What's the matter, bub? Okay, number 7.
parallel timelines. In one of our previous lists, we discussed the theory that
Okay, so for those of you who are just joining us, I feel like I should explain this. Also, that's a really funny place to pause. Oh no, she got Thanos. Shit. We Thanos the nice host lady of these Zelda fan theory videos. Mr. Stark, I have a theory that I don't feel so good. Thank you, everyone that's hitting that follow button. Okay, so in the part 2 of the video, they had a really short one of their top 10. They had a really short one where the theory was just, instead of a timeline, what if all the Zelda games take place in parallel dimensions? And we had a moment of silence because we realized that would essentially be the same thing. There's not really a difference between those. But now we're getting more parallel dimensions, so let's go into this.
Business. And at number 7, parallel timelines. In one of our previous lists, we discussed the theory that Breath of the Wild takes place during the hero defeated timeline. One of the hangups of that theory is that there are a few discrepancies, like places named after older characters, the Temple of Time's existence, and the Rito from Wind Waker. This has spawned a new theory that there are multiple parallel dimensions with parallel timelines that all contain similar stories. Battles of good versus evil, whose original events happened a long time ago, which seems like an interesting explanation, but feels a little bit like a long shot. And at number 6,
can someone please explain to me what the difference is between what she's explaining and what we actually have with the multiple timelines? Could someone please explain what the difference would be? I need some sort of like, I need to know I'm not going crazy here. Like, the fact she's even like, it's a bit of a long shot for this to be the case. It's like, no, that is what it is. You're not offering anything new. It's the shortest shot possible, lady. What? Okay, number 6. We got this. Number 6. Let's go.
King Rome's identity. In the early moments of Breath of the Wild, Link encounters an old man who turns out to be King Rome, the last king of Hyrule. While most figured this was just a nice throwback to the old man in the cave from the 1986 The Legend of Zelda game, others noted a different connection Rome potentially shared with another game, the sentient boat that guides Link in Wind Waker, King of Red Lions. We find out at the end of Wind Waker that the King of Red Lions wasn't actually sentient after all, but actually was being controlled by the King of Hyrule, Daphne's Nohansen Hyrule. The two kings do strike a physical similarity, but it seems a little bit unlikely. Up next,
I don't know, gang. There can't be a connection there. There can't be a connection. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. Like, was the theory like literally that just like me? I don't get it. I don't. Okay, let's go.
5. The Shadow Temple. Moving into creepier territory for this number, let's talk a bit about the Shadow Temple that appears in Ocarina of Time as the 7th dungeon. It's perhaps the most sinister place in the entire game. There's a theory that believes that the initial intention of the temple was to absorb and concentrate all of the evil and negative feelings within Hyrule in order to help purify Shadow Temple. Moving into creepier territory for this number, let's talk a bit about the Shadow Temple that appears in Ocarina of Time as the 7th dungeon. It's perhaps
Shadow Temple.
the the most sinister place in the entire game.
My
There's a
favorite
theory
part
that
of the
believes
Shadow
that the initial
Temple.
intention of the temple was to absorb and concentrate all of the evil and negative feelings within Hyrule, in order to help purify it and prevent it from becoming a corrupt world. Because of all the negativity and malice it was ingesting, it became a torture chamber filled with nightmares. This theory is fueled primarily from the whisperings of the skull paintings within the temple. Up next, number 4, the Zora.
Wait, what? Okay, I was making fun of the fact that that's like water temple artwork. But what? Wait, what was the actual theory?
Time as the 7th dungeon. It's perhaps the most sinister place in the entire game. There's a theory that believes that the initial intention of the temple was to absorb and concentrate all of the evil and negative feelings within Hyrule, in order to help purify it and prevent it from becoming a corrupt world. Because of all the negativity and malice it was ingesting, it became a torture chamber filled with nightmares. This theory is fueled primarily from the whisperings of the skull paintings within the temple. Up next, number 4.
That's just what it is. That's not like a theory. That's just like, they're just like, this is where Hyrule's suffering goes. And like, extrapolating out a text box from the actual video game is not a fan theory. What?
For the Zora evolution. Wind Waker takes place in a world that is pretty much covered in water. While you may not pick up on it at first, once you realize that the Zoras are absent from the game, it does seem rather suspicious. This has led many to speculate that the Zora evolved into another race, the Rito. It's speculated that this evolution
this actually, like, I'm okay with this, but that's really funny to go from like talking about Wind Waker to here's some really fucking realistic, hot, sexy Zora abs. Is it offensive to say I want to eat sushi off those abs? Those cheeks? Look at that. Oh my god. I'm gonna get banned from Twitch.
was due to Hyrule being flooded by the gods to protect the Triforce from Ganon, whose sea monsters then searched the oceans for it. These monsters would then kill most of the Zora, so they had to adapt, therefore slowly evolving into the Rito. This theory has actually been confirmed, but there isn't any details on how exactly the evolution happened, or what it has to do with our next point. And at 3, Zora and Rito coexisting. As most of you already know, Breath of the Wild happens after Wind Waker. Both the Rito and Zora races appear in that game, causing many to wonder how that happened. Most speculate that the Zora race did survive through Wind Waker, and that only a certain population evolved into Rito by some sort of divine or magical intervention. The Zora in Wind Waker were supposed to receive their wings from some sort of patron deity, as we see in a stone carving in Castletown in Twilight Princess. This has led to speculation that the Zora lived in 2 different geographical zones of Hyrule, one of which became the Rito, and the other the Zora who continued to survive and thrive. Others have speculated that the Rito we see in Wind Waker are a different kind of breed than the ones we see in Breath of the Wild, with the latter having a different kind of origin, or being more so evolved from the version in Wind Waker. And at number 2, the sages are...
Did we just unironically get... Dude. If humans came from monkeys... Why are there still monkeys, dude? Ah! Yeah, so I don't even want to get into that initial Rito thing. Like that's been the... We knew that in 2003. 10-year-old Josh knew that. Like, people can debate about the Rito in Breath of the Wild, but the Wind Waker shit is like closed and shut. Oh no.
Deceased. Jumping back to Ocarina of Time, let's take a look at the 7 sages who helped Link navigate his quest.
Excuse me. Excuse me. What is this fan art of the sages? Is this super old Rudo? This is like the Ocarina of Time sages, but like super old, and then Saria's like turned half Korok. That actually, like, that's actually a cool touch. But yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh. I like how Raru is like already old as shit and he's just like, yeah, I got a more awesome beard now. Okay.
Of time, let's take a look at the 7 sages who help Link navigate his quest to defeat Ganondorf. In the game, there are certain sages who help Link with certain temples. Once you progress through a temple, its sage ends up taking a spot in the Chamber of Sages, with their work being complete. This got some people wondering if the sages were killed in their respective temples, since all of the sages were imprisoned in there, and Link's involvement and completion of the temple acts as a way of finishing unfinished business yet again. The theory speculates that Darunia died fighting Volvagia, because he didn't have the Megaton hammer. Then Nabooru is last seen in the Spirit Temple, when she is freed from Twin Rova's spell. Ruto swims off to free her people but is never seen again. Impa has been speculated to have been killed by Bongo Bongo, and Saria had rushed to the Forest Temple after it was attacked by evil monsters. She puts out a distress call to Link but is never seen alive again outside of the chamber. All of this has led to the theory that in order to become a sacred sage, your mortal soul needs to die, in order to have your soul then saved by Link and awaken again to become immortal. In at number 1, a eulogy for Satoru Iwata.
Yeah, that's... Okay. I had to check the date on the video again. I was like, did they put this out like on like close to when Iwata passed away? Because that'd be super scummy if that was what they were building up to. But yeah, the sages being dead, like that's one of those, like, it's kind of implied, like, could be a headcanon type thing, but they're like, they don't go outright and confirm it because it's like an E-rated game. But yeah, that's like, it's better than most of the stuff they're saying, but okay. But okay, yeah, how is this a theory? I'm interested.
Eulogy for Satoru Iwata. This one makes our top spot on this list because it's the most plausible of the group, and perhaps the most heartfelt. Back in 2015, the president of Nintendo, Satoru Iwata, died due to complications from cancer. He was largely responsible for revitalizing the company back in the early 2000s, and served as the head developer on the Nintendo Switch during his final months of his life. So how does this tie into Zelda? Well, in Breath of the Wild, there's a man you encounter named Botwick, who looks a whole lot like Iwata. Botwick tells you to go explore a place called Satori Mountain. When you reach the top of the mountain, you'll discover a single cherry blossom tree, with a very ethereal creature beneath it known as the Lord of the Mountain. The game's compendium reads, "This noble creature watches over all animals that makes their home in the forest. Legends say this holy creature is a reincarnation of a sage that died on the lands it now protects. It's something known by its other name, Satori." Now, Satori is the root for the name Satoru, and it's also the Japanese Buddhist word for enlightenment. Alright, there we have it, friends. So we've pretty much exhausted...
Guys, I got a fan theory. Now just bear with me here, but I got a fan theory that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was a video game developed and released by Nintendo on March 3rd, 2017 for the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Wii U consoles. What do you think of that theory, haters? It's just a theory. You can't come at me, but that's just a little theory that I've been working up. My theory is that the sky is blue, that water is wet, that my ding-a-ling is big. What is happening?
Most of the popular theories out there. So if you guys have any that you're really passionate or excited about that we haven't mentioned on any of our lists, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you dug this video, please show us some love by hitting that like button. And why not subscribe while you're at it? We've also got a ton of great videos just waiting for you to check them out, like the ones in our playlist flashing on your screen right now. And
Jish, what happened to not roasting channels? Okay. Here, because I said this earlier. Okay, so I said earlier we are not going to be roasting any of the specific YouTubers and stuff while we do these reactions. And I am not roasting anyone specifically. Any of, like, the independent, like, this is my video on, like, my theory of, like, Zelda. I have not made fun of those people. I've, like, questioned some of the, like, theories, but I will not say anything about specific people that come up with specific theories. What I will, and also, I must say, like, I am not making fun of, where is she? I'm not making fun of this lady at all. Like, this is her job. She stands in front of a green screen. She does, like, top 10 lists. Like, that's 100% fine by me. You work, girl. Do that hustle. So I have no problem with her or anything like that. But I will make fun of a channel called Top 10 Gaming that is just ripping these fan theories from, like, Reddit comments, not properly not properly like quoting them or anything like that. And I will make fun of the video overall for how they're presenting these, but like any of the specific people, like I'm not gonna bash or anything like that. So yeah, she's just reading a script. She's just doing her job. So I have no problem with her, and I want to like make that really clear that like I have nothing against her, and like I'm not making fun of her. And oh, she hosts the next one too. I'm excited. So are we ready for top 10 scary Zelda urban legends? Hey, Moblin Nerfed, how's it going? Hello to everyone that's showing up as well. Thank you for the 10 biddies, Zed. The proof is just that it's a fact.
In the town.
Wait, what? Whoa, 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 whoa.
Town of Greendale. There lived a girl.
Okay, we get it, Sabrina. You're creepy.
Half mortal.
You're scary.
The legend-
Okay. We have top 10 scary Zelda urban legends from July 17th, 2018. We also... Okay. We also have top 10 scary Legend of Zelda creepypastas from December 1st, 2018. Okay. What is the difference between a scary Zelda urban legend and a scary Legend of Zelda creepypasta? I guess we're gonna find out. Oh, dear. Okay, let's do it. Parallel timelines again. No, it's parallel dimensions. That's much different from parallel timelines. I have two separate theories on how different they are. All right.
The Legend of Zelda franchise has no shortage of creepy stories and scary urban legends. While most of them arguably are fiction, some of them have just enough grain of truth that makes you wonder if some have encountered strange events while playing some of the series' titles. Regardless, they're good for a fun scare, even if they just make you a wee bit uneasy. Some of these on our list are popular urban legends concerning The Legend of Zelda that you've probably heard before. Others are creepypastas that are equally as enticing. So with that in mind,
what was that? People in the chat saying urban legends were different than creepypastas? I know there actually is a difference, but the fact that she is including creepypastas in this video is kind of hilarious.
here's our list of the top 10 scary Zelda urban legends. And at number 10, The Hands. This story tells of an adult who decides to return to The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, a game he loved as a child. He buys a new copy of it, digs up his N64 from his attic, and begins to play. He eventually gets to the Shadow Temple, remembering in dread that the boss is Dead Hand. Right before the boss battle, he recalls an old glitch that his friend told him to try. If you let all 4 of Dead Hand's hands grab you at once, something awesome will happen. His friend, who is named Tyler, had died since a few years back in a car crash, so he gives it a go. But nothing happens. He defeats Dead Hand, and when the chest appears, he opens it, finding the Lens of Truth. But the description for it is different. It reads,
not to be fact checker McGee over here, but Dead Hand's not the Shadow Temple boss. He's the and I don't. That's more than 4 hands. Is that Young Link? Like, does Dead Hand and Shadow Temple only have 4 hands? I can't remember. But also, I don't think you can get caught by all 4 hands at the same time. But anyways.
The chest appears, he opens it, finding the Lens of Truth. But the description for it is different. It reads, "Come back here 30 years in the past. I'll be waiting for you." Confused, the player thinks about it for a moment, coming to the conclusion that it must mean the old copy of the game from 30 years ago that he was playing. So, for the hell of it, he goes back up to the attic and finds his old Ocarina of Time cartridge, pops it in, and plays through the game. But this time, the only enemies that he sees are hands. And all the buildings in the game are in ruins. The music from the Shadow Temple plays. He eventually gets back to the temple.
We will emphasize the creepiness of this story with a really fucking corrupted JPEG of random Ocarina of Time mini-boss footage. Where they have apparently hacked the key number, because you can't get 8 keys in either Shadow Temple or Bottom of the Well. He pulled a me. Wait. No. I just had a brief moment. It's like, is this my footage? But I wouldn't have had that many hearts in 64 Things Wrong with Ocarina of Time.
Shadow Temple plays. He eventually gets back to the temple, Dead Hand is there, but this time underneath its body are thousands of hands, chasing the author around out of the temple. After running for a while, the author turns around and decides to face Dead Hand head on. But this doesn't go as planned. Instead, Link is ripped in half. So he shuts off the game. That night, he sees Dead Hand's face at his window. He starts to notice that he's losing energy, and that's when he notices that his hands are becoming white. And at number 9, Zelda 64.
But then what happened? What happens after his hands became white? What happens then?
Beta. This creepypasta tells the story of an early version of Ocarina of Time that was referred to as Zelda 3D in its early development stage. It was very different from the final game, and was more so modeled after the original Zelda rather than A Link to the Past. The author tells of how his friend, who worked at a game
No.
Archie Andrews, you have the right to remain silent. The right to remain silent.
Archie! No, he's in jail! Oh no!
shop gave him a strange red cartridge that was marked Zelda with a piece of tape. According to his friend, it was brought to the shop by a man whose son had gone missing and was selling his old games. So the author goes home and gives the game a try. The game starts off with a title that simply reads The Legend of Zelda. The author then hits start, and a blocky-looking Link appears in a black space, with the only thing in sight being a strange temple. As he walks closer to the temple, the silence in the game is broken by strange noises. Upon entering the temple, it looks different than any other Zelda temple, and it's
This is the scariest dungeon in Ocarina of Time. Oh. Shiver goes down my spine every single time I enter this temple of the side building of Kakariko.
It looks different than any other Zelda temple, and it's filled with booby traps and dead adventurers, and a lot of digital blood. Eventually he enters what can only be described as a boss room. At the opposite end of the room is a giant face that looks as if it's been stretched over top of the wall, its eyes covered in moss. Not knowing what to do, he goes up to it and attacks it, and it's pretty bloody and gruesome. Eventually the face turns into flames and reveals a door. He goes through the door and turns out that all of this was just the tutorial. The screen turns white and then reveals an endless desert. The next day the author continues playing, and playing, and playing. He roams the desert for hours. He finds ruins with indecipherable words written on them, and every time he completes a dungeon, the screen flashes white and he reappears somewhere in the desert again. The creepypasta ends with him telling his readers that as he continues to play, he knows the game knows he's playing, and he just can't stop. Up next, number 8, Happiness for Sale. Happiness for Sale tells the tale of a strange man who comes into the author's town, who looks like he's in his 30s, has thinning red hair, tan skin, a very thin frame, is quite small, and is hunched over, carrying a heavy load of items on his back. The author, seated in the town square, notices that nearby children freeze and watch the man as he passes, utterly captivated. The man then pauses him, and he freezes too, not knowing why, but eventually watches the man walk away. As the man turns away, he notices that the man has masks attached to the parcels on his back. The next day at the town square again, the author notices a new shop is opened, called Happy Mask Shop. He goes inside and there are people in there, but none of them are talking, just staring at the Happy Mask Man. The man nods his head and suddenly everyone leaves the shop, leaving the author alone with the Happy Mask Man. Then a boy walks into the shop and he and the boy stare at each other. The Happy Mask Man then grabs the boy by the throat. The child starts screaming, and the man starts to smile sinisterly. Then suddenly he eats the boy whole. In shock, the author runs out the door, but as he dashes out, he hears the Happy Mask Man say, "Do you want to mask my boy?" The author runs home. When he returns to the town square the next day, the shop is gone, and no one in the town seems to remember it even being there. Up next, number 7, Wind Waker. This one is about
What? So one day I was walking through town and I saw a guy that looked like the mask salesman from Majora's Mask, and then he put up a mask shop like in Ocarina of Time, and then I went inside and all the people were like, "Hey," and then they left, and then a boy came in, and then the man ate the boy, and then the boy looked at me and he said, "Hey," and then what? Where did they get this? I legitimately think like they picked that up from like a Vor thread or something like that.
a player who decides to download ROMs of all the Zelda games, playing through to Wind Waker. Everything goes smoothly with the first couple of games, but when they eventually get to Wind Waker, the game doesn't work. So they try a bunch of different ROMs and programs. Still no luck. Eventually, 16 Google search pages in, they find a new link to try. To their relief, this time it does work, despite the download page looking kinda sketchy. Some of the textures of the game were a bit distorted, but according to what they read online, that was pretty normal for a ROM. So they continue playing. Everything is fine until they get to the end of the game. Every time they get to the Ganon cutscene, the game freezes and turns to black. Wanting to finish the game, they keep trying and trying, but it keeps freezing. On about the 20th attempt, as the game freezes, a text box appears. It reads, "You're a persistent one, aren't you?" So they restart the emulation again. Everything on the screen is red. An image of Link hanging appears briefly on the screen. So they close the emulation, all freaked out. Eventually, they go back to the page that they downloaded it from just to see if it's some kind of joke. But the page that it came from has disappeared too. They can't find it. So they load up the emulation again. This time, their save file reads, "Try again." Despite being creeped out, they open the save file. This time, the cutscene plays through, but in the battle, Link is trying to fire an arrow with an invisible bow. Ganon kills Link, and it's particularly bloody. Player shuts it off. Loads up the try again save file once again. The cutscene this time shows Zelda lying on the ground, her eyes wide open, looking deathly. Weird things like this continue to happen time and time again, so the player decides to delete the emulator. A week goes by. The player is on YouTube late at night. That's when something weird happens. The emulator window opens up on their screen. Wind Waker begins to load up. Every time the player tries to quit it, the same text appears on the screen. You failed. And at number 6, Midna's Sora.
Look, if some fucking ghosts are gonna come after some kids for not just beating Wind Waker, I am absolutely fucked for never finishing my 64 Things Wrong with Wind Waker. I'm gonna get haunted as fuck. I'm doomed. I'm out of here.
A player buys a copy of Twilight Princess in this one. They play it, make a substantial amount of progress in the game, but eventually, as other games are released, they stop playing it. 2 years pass. Player, bored one day, decides to give the game another go. When they start it up, though, they immediately notice that a lot of the progress that they made in the game has been erased somehow. Things are missing in their inventory that they recalled getting. Confused, they believe that maybe they just remembered incorrectly, and decide to keep playing. They encounter Midna, who begins to talk to them, and says, "Link, where were you all this time? You were gone for so long. We lost everything. I was so sad. And Zelda, ... Confused as Wolf Link, the player takes off, but soon the player realizes that they're not in control of Link anymore. That's when another text box appears that says, "Don't worry, Midna, I'll protect you." The screen then turns black. Eventually, it comes back on. Link is human again and inside the Twilight Realm. So the player decides to speak to an NPC. The text box reads, "They are inside." Every NPC they encounter says this. So the player runs into the nearest building only to find themselves inside of Xant's boss chamber. Midna is on the floor, and Ganondorf and Xant are also in the room. As the player moves Link forward, the screen cuts to black and there's a loud booming noise. The title screen then appears. The player hits start and the music playing is Midna's lament. They choose a file to start the game, but then a text box appears that reads, "You did this to us. Are you proud of what you've done?" Up next, number 5, The Terrors of Twilight Princess.
If a game's gonna get upset and haunted because I never finished it, apparently I'm very, very screwed. Okay, I'm just... Are these all creepypastas? Like, urban legends, like, implies, like, some of this actually happened. But this, like, literally every one of these so far has been like, I decided to play a Zelda game, but then the Zelda game was like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you, kid." And I was like, oh, maybe I'll keep playing. And the game was like, "I'm gonna fucking massacre you, boy." And I was like, well, that doesn't sound like a very good game for a kid, but maybe I'll keep playing. Ah, what the fuck?
This creepypasta is by a user named Quill12. The author comes home to discover that the game they ordered off of Amazon, Twilight Princess, has finally arrived in the mail. By this point,
what are you doing? Nothing.
Can we just watch?
There are 5 total. Josh, Kenny,
what's
Lucas,
the name of this
John
movie
Ambrose,
again?
and Peter. But one day...
Fuck, what's the name of this movie?
I appreciate it, but it's never gonna happen.
What is it?
Oh my god. The letters got out.
Oh, shit, I've watched this movie and I forget the name of it. Damn it, I can't do my joke. What is it? Zed, thank you for the 10 biddies just for that monologue with fun voices. Thank you. Shit. Shit, what is the name of this movie? To All the Boys I've Loved. That's what it is. Thank you very much for that, Luna. Can we just watch To All the Boys I've Loved before? Can we just watch that instead?
And Twilight Princess.
Can I live react to a rom-com?
It's an older game, but they still really wanted to play it. When they started, they see that all of the save files were already taken. So they delete the first one and start a new game. The game immediately crashes. So?
Never delete a ghost save file. Fucking rookie mistake. They fucked up.
They restarted. This time, all of the NPCs are missing, and their inventory is already full with various items. So they decide to turn off their system. They forget about the game for a few weeks, but then when one of their friends come over, they decide to play it. They get through to the part where Midna is taunting you about morphing into the village children when Ganondorf just appears. Having seen the Let's Play videos of the game online, they both know that this isn't right. Ganondorf is pacing, and then Ganondorf...
But the Game Grumps didn't have blood coming out of their TV screen? Guys, I think we messed up. The Let's Players didn't have to deal with this. PB and Jeff didn't start speaking in tongues when they played Twilight Princess. What the fuck, man?
Looks at them directly, as if he can see them through the screen. Freaked out, they shut off the game. A few hours pass and curiosity gets the best of them, so they turn it back on. This time Wolf Link has become a Shadow Wolf Link, so they keep playing, kind of intrigued. Ganondorf keeps appearing on their screen. Faron Woods gets darker and darker, and next thing they know, the game glitches and they're at Hyrule Castle. So they go inside. Drips of digital blood are on the floor. They follow the trail and see a figure lying on the floor with Ganondorf above it. Ganondorf then turns to them, looks directly at the screen, and a text box pops up that reads, "I'm sorry, but you were too slow." The two of them...
That was my favorite image of Ganondorf looking at the screen. That is my favorite image of Ganondorf looking at the screen. That's simply beautiful. That is my favorite image in all of Zelda of Ganondorf looking at the screen. It's not like if you were to look up Ganondorf Twilight Princess, that one of the very fucking first images you can find is Ganondorf looking at the screen. I'm not saying that's the most iconic Twilight Princess Ganondorf moment, but if you were telling a story about Ganondorf looking at a screen, might I suggest this picture of Ganondorf looking at the screen as opposed to this shit?
I'm sorry, but you were too slow. The two of them turn off the Wii and snap the game disc in half, burying it in the backyard. Up next, number 4, Majora's Mask. Remember Game Shark? It was a neat little tool you could pop onto a console and it allowed you to access a slew of cheats back in the day. Now this creepypasta is about a player who used his friend's Game Shark while playing Majora's Mask. Now after trying out a bunch of different cheats with his friend, they see a new cheat code appear out of nowhere. So they decide to try it out. They discover that it freezes time outside of the Snow Temple, right before a couple of minutes from midnight. Strange pixels appear as they explored, and no enemies were around. So they decide to keep playing and reach the end of the game. But the final cutscene wasn't triggered. Instead, the moon kept getting closer and closer. That's when they realized that an image of Majora's Mask was on the surface of the moon, made of strange-looking pixels. The closer it got to them, they began to notice a flickering of images on the screen, all of disturbing content. A hand then appeared and pulls off the mask to reveal the face of a screaming Skull Kid. It spoke words, saying out loud, "You lost the game." The screen then goes black. According to his friend, it was an alternate ending that was hidden in the code of the game. But it all seemed really strange to the author, and too paranormal to have really been the case. They haven't tried playing it since. In at number 3, The Glitch. In this creepypasta, the author tells a tale of how they decided to return to one of their favorite games, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. So they start a new game. It's exactly how they remember, except when Skull Kid appears to steal Epona, Link gets dragged to the ground trying to hold onto the horse. Game Over then appears on the screen. The author's shocked, so they hit continue. The game picks up right before Skull Kid appears. They go into their inventory to see that it's now filled with ocarinas, so they continue to play even though they feel a little bit uneasy. They get to the part where Link is transformed into a Dooku scrub. Link just suddenly dies again. Frustrated, they hit continue once more. Link continues to die at strange points from then on, when meeting the Happy Mask salesman, when exploring Clock Town, etc. Link would die whenever a text box appeared, essentially. Eventually, the player reaches the Great Fairy. Her text box reads a series of zeros and scrambled words, and is totally glitching. Link then dies again, so the player hits continue. But this time, that scene happens again and again, with Link endlessly dying. The author claims to have never found out why, and that their N64 and all of the other games worked perfectly afterwards. But every time they played Majora's Mask, the same thing would happen again and again. Moving on to number 2, Zelda EXE. Zelda EXE comes from a DeviantArt creepypasta, written by a user named Sandvich33 who calls himself Mikey in the story.
All right. Now, I'll admit, I've been a bit dubious about these other stories. Like, I admit I'm not 100% like on board. I'm like, okay, that could have happened, but you need to show some proof. But if you're posting your experience about a haunted Majora's Mask game on DeviantArt with the username Sandvich33, a hilarious Team Fortress 2 reference, if I might add, I think I gotta take your word for it. That seems trustworthy to me. So, no making fun of this specific creepypasta. I won't allow it. This seems plausible. The truth is out there.
Mikey begins his story by telling us about his cousin Thomas, who played a copy of The Legend of Zelda obsessively. One day he disappeared, leaving his NES on, gone without a trace. Years later, the family had come to terms with the belief that Thomas was likely dead. Years after that, Mikey decides to take a look at the copy of The Legend of Zelda that Thomas played. The game and system doesn't work, so Mikey calls up one of his pals who knows how to extract files from cartridges. The file they extract is titled Zelda EXE. So Mikey loads it up with an emulator on his computer. As he played the game, he noticed it would freeze and slow down often, with NPCs half finishing their dialogue. He continues to play, speaks to one elder NPC, and the text box reads, "Dad?" Mikey, freaked out, resets the game. This time though, his new save file is replaced by Thomas's old one. Another NPC speaks to him and says, "Dad, is that you?" Mikey continues to play. Later in the game, another NPC says to him, "Wait, you're not my dad." That's when the game freezes. There's a jumble of sound effects and the game resets itself. Mikey then swears he saw a flicker of an image that looked like Thomas on his screen. Then he also notices that there's an AVI file now on his desktop that contains a video of his gameplay. Confused, Mikey shuts off the computer. A year later, Mikey stumbles upon the Ben Drowned Zelda creepypasta. More on that later though. It gets him thinking, so he revisits the game. It continues where it last left off, except this time more text appears as he plays through, and there's a lot of glitches. The text reads, "They all..."
Okay, I kind of, from a storytelling perspective, I actually kind of like the idea of this kid, like, Googling, like, haunted Majora's Mask bullshit, and then, like, immediately getting, like, Ben drowned and being like, oh, I'm not the only one that has a dead kid in my game. Oh, thank goodness, I thought I was the only one. Oh, it's such a relief that multiple kids have died because of this video game. Oh, that's great.
I want to be a normal
Also, Netflix
girl.
really wants me to
Perished.
watch
No
some
one could
stuff.
save them, and the new dawn will rise. Now a new AVI file appears titled New Dawn, after another image of what Mikey claims is Thomas flashes on the screen. That night, Mikey notices that the emulator file is now an NES file. The game is where he left off, except now Mikey hears weird laughter. He decides to drag the file into his recycle bin. But as he does that, a new file appears that is titled playme.nes. So Mikey does. Another link sprite appears on the screen in front of his own. A caption appears that reads, "It's time." So he tosses his sword at the sprite. And the words, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" then appear on his screen. So creepy. And lastly, in at number 1, Ben.
I am shocked that this is the top one. But also, okay. So kudos to, like, this second, or the second last one here. Like, that's an interesting twist. Like, ooh, my Nintendo 64 game turned into a .NES file, and I had to get an or a normal Nintendo emulator to play it then. Like, that's okay. But then, if you're already dealing with, like, this super specific file types that you need for emulators, how the hell did you get an EXE file out of a Nintendo 64 ROM? Like, I was gonna make fun of that, but then I was like, like, for creepypastas, that doesn't really matter. But the fact they were so specific about how emulators work, like, afterwards, but then they think you can just, like, if I could just, like, plug Majora's Mask into my computer and then I could, like, double-click whatever was on it and just play Majora's Mask? Like, why is there the weird mixture of knowing how emulators work?
And drowned. So why is that last message in our previous number so creepy? Well, it's because of this creepypasta, which is the most famous Zelda one of them all. Ben Drowned. It's the tale of a haunted Majora's Mask cartridge, the game in the franchise that is arguably the darkest and creepiest title that many speculate is about Link coming to terms with his own death, going through the 5 stages of grief. The urban legend is about an American student who is given an N64 to play in his college dorm room. He eventually gets his hand on a copy of Majora's Mask, which is a blank cartridge that has the word Majora written on it in Sharpie. Starting the game, there's a save file on it under the name Ben. Instead of choosing Ben, the student starts his own file, calling it Link. The game has a few glitches though, and all of the NPCs call him Ben rather than Link. The student decides to delete the Ben save file in an attempt to get rid of the glitching. Restarting his game, there's even more glitches this time, with the music playing backwards, and Link repeatedly catching fire or drowning. The NPCs also keep talking about Ben and that Ben drowned. The message, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" keeps appearing on his screen. So the student decides to post about his progress with the game, keeping track of what's happening, posting videos of his gameplay. In his blog, he writes that he begins to see Ben in his sleep. Now, there's different versions of how the story ends, depending on the source that you're reading it from. Some say that the student destroyed the cartridge, but the creepiest one tells of him mysteriously disappearing, with his roommate discovering all the video files and his blog, responding to everyone online who was questioning where the student had gone and why he had stopped posting. According to the roommate, he and all of his things just disappeared one day, out of the blue, and he hasn't heard from him since. Alright, there we have it, friends. Which of these do you find the scary?
So none of these were urban legends. Every last one of those was creepypastas. And with the exception of one where this dude randomly saw the Happy Mask salesman in real life vor a kid, which, you know what, props for originality compared to the other 9, but literally all the rest of them were like, I think my Zelda game is haunted because it keeps glitching and telling me to die. Is this an intended feature, Nintendo of America? Oh, dear. So, no, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. So, creepypastas are like urban legends. But the next video is top 10 scary Legend of Zelda creepypastas. So, we just watched top 10 scary Zelda urban legends, and it was all creepypastas. So, is this going to be all just urban legends, or is it just 10 more creepypastas? Okay. Wait, what? Wait, what? So they also have a standalone Ben Drowned video? When did this come out? Oh, hey, it's back to... Oh, I was going to say, you know what? That's actually nice. She escaped her green screen prison and threw this guy in to take her place. But she's back to talk about Ben Drowned again. But also... Wait, what?
And just when I thought the creepypasta trend was over,
they released another scariest Zelda creepypastas a week ago. What the fuck? What is happening? Wait, she's like Canadian. That's a Canada shirt. All right. Okay. So also I did see over on the side like there's scariest Yoshi creepypastas. Top 10 scary Kirby creepypastas. What the hell? Scariest Smash Bros. Creepypastas? Skyrim creepypastas? Sonic? Oh, hey, Jeff. Jesus, Jeff got a lot of views on that video. Holy crap. Good job, Jeff. Oh my god. I'm so glad I'm in incognito mode. Okay. Okay, so I need to wrap this stream up soon because I've been streaming since like 1. Or like, yeah, since 1, if you're counting my randomizer commentary. But okay, we're gonna check out this video to see if it's just the exact same thing as the last one. But then we're probably gonna wrap up soon. But if you guys have been enjoying this, I'm down to react to weird Zelda videos more often. Oh my goodness.
Top 10 gaming friends, I'm your host with the most, Johnny Rogers, and today we'll be telling you some of our favorite top 10 Zelda creepypastas.
So, like, would he be required by law to be a pirate if he'd been born in a different century?
In at number 10, Zelda 64 Beta. This is a tale of a glitched Zelda game that reacts to players and offers a free roaming feature chock full of very disturbing imagery and sounds to match. Each time he restarted the map, the player would notice that it would change slightly, so he would have to continue based on only his instincts from the last time that he was in the game. He described the background music to be sounds of moans, sobs, yells, and kind of weird scratching noises. Each temple he explored had a very similar outcome as well. He would reach a large gray-colored face with sunken eyes and cracked lips that he would then attack with Link's sword, only to notice that the boss would just burst into flames and fade into a new doorway for him to explore. The first though someone had created a version of Zelda that reacted to the player, the hands. This creepypasta happens when a player buys a used copy of.
Is this the same 10 but in a different order?
At night, and every day his own hands grow thinner and whiter. Number 8, XO Rax. This creepypasta is a bit of a trip and details an interesting take on the beginnings of the character known as Link. The story begins with a terrible virus known as the XO Rax that had killed the protagonist's family. And after the breakout, he remembers people banging on his door searching for survivors. They discovered several other kids his age that seemingly were immune to the disease, and so.
What the fuck? What does this have to do with Zelda?
They hid them in a forest in hopes to study them under quarantine. Things begin to take a turn when some of the participants of the study start to see trails of light and even weirder hallucinations of creatures in the air. Soon thereafter, the people conducting the studies gave up entirely on the experiment with no hopes of creating a cure for the disease. Now, as it pertains to the other children, they soon befriended these imaginary characters, and as for our protagonist, well, he awoke to another trailing ball of light that descended to his bed and said, "Hello, Link. Wake up. The Great Deku Tree has summoned you." Number 7.
What? What? That's not like a creepypasta. That's like a really weird fan theory. What? That's one of the wildest creepypastas. They did the worst job explaining it. Like, is that an actual thing? For starters, you're not supposed to know it's a Zelda creepypasta until the end. That, like, you know what? Like, that'd be interesting from a storytelling perspective, like, explaining something and then only at the end you realize it's, like, Zelda related. Like, that would be interesting, but what the fuck?
Happiness for Sale. This story is about a real-life version of the Happy Mask Salesman. Our protagonist has an interaction with the salesman that it's just creepy beyond belief. He first sees the salesman walking down the street, staring into people's souls with a giant
Why do they have a video released 6 months after the exact same video that's a different host explaining things worse, but using the same images.
On his way in, several people left with masks and glazed looks as to run to confirm if you see looks on him. It is the Vera's mask, not to be confused of evil itself. Number 6, Majora's Mask. Not to be confused with the Ben creepypasta, this one adds to the Majora's Mask phenomenon. They were using a Game Shark though to mess with the game when shuts off. Number 5, Link's Awakening. This creepypasta begins with a hacked copy of Zelda Link's Awakening. He realized something was off when the game starts with Link tossing and turning while Marin watches him. This hacked game also used the owl in the game to lure the player to different forests, prompting him to do horrible actions with the sword that he just found. Throughout the game, the player could hear horrible sounds of screams and loud screeching noises anytime he had defeated a character. And after resetting the game to check and make sure that it wasn't a glitch, things became even darker than before. The file name was changed from Link to Black, and the owl was still there, ordering the
Excuse me, dude.
Player to do strange things. They come across a black sword and a wand, and when picking up the wand, the screen flashed, and every tree in the game was now on fire, and every interaction he had with the character soon led to their demise, always with the owl closely in proximity. They would say one last thing, then a flash, followed by a gruesome and very realistic death. Number 4.
You know, those 8-bit Game Boy graphics, those realistic death scenes, you want to be careful what your kids are playing on the Game Boy these days. Those graphics, ooh, they'll fuck them up.
Or The Final Days. This creepypasta is almost a fan-made origin story for Majora's Mask. It begins with a man and his team setting out to create towers to replace an old bloody history of their land. They traveled to a valley near an abandoned castle on the edge of a desert and began construction. The man's son is the protagonist in this storyline, and as it continues, he describes hearing strange noises throughout the night while they were going through with the construction.
Okay, I'm like, okay, I'm making fun of this, but it's actually, like, genuinely, like, kind of upsetting me that, like, I didn't. So the videos with the girl were like it was still like obviously like cheaply putting together these lists, not citing them as much as possible. But the fact that he's like, the way he's describing stories is almost like inhuman in my opinion. And like nothing against like this guy himself, but the way it's like scripted just to tell people like this is a story that exists. The protagonist is this person. And they then did this thing. Like, there's zero actual, like, storytelling going on here. Like, I would understand the appeal of, like, here's, like, some creepy, like, short story creepypastas. But, like, you'd want to tell the story in, like, an engaging way. But this feels like a computer. Like, the script was like a computer analyzing creepypastas and being like, the protagonist is this person. And then this result that they did not like occurred. And then this happened, and the protagonist's father, who does not have an, like, that's just so weird. That's such a weird way to, like, share a story with people. Like, that literally feels like it was designed by a computer to, like, just get as much story content out there as possible. That's so bizarre.
And on one fateful night, a member of their construction team stumbled back to camp bloodied and terrified. He had a message for the team that the Guardians were watching. He also carried with him a mask that seemed to hypnotize the crew. Even with danger all around them, they continued to build the towers, and anytime the son tried to speak with his father, he could only utter the words, "For Majora, son." we're doing this for Majora. Number 3, Wind Waker. The player hoping to find a download for Wind Waker spent hours searching for a ROM, but time after...
Don't fucking illegally download your game then, kid. You'll get friggin' haunted.
You failed. Number 2, What If I Told You? This creepypasta is more so a letter to Skull Kid from Mayor Detour. This unique creepypasta tells the story of the clock tower and its malevolence within. It also hints at the reason why Majora's Mask called to the Skull Kid. Perhaps this letter was the reason why he sought it out in the first place. It urges him to seek out the Happy Mask salesman and steal the mask to use its almighty powers to end corruption. The letter goes into great detail as to why certain strange happenings go on, from children being tortured to human sacrifices to ward off a giant creature that returns with every full moon. He ends the letter by saying, "I hope you plan this well, because it will be my final request. I hope it is for the best after all." Number 1, Ben. This is our number 1 spot because it is believed to be the creepypasta that began everything for Zelda creepypastas. It also has several story arcs and added parts, but I will get to as much as I can to describe its origins. This is our number for the best after all. Number 1.
Shut up, boss
The Legend
baby.
of Zelda.
Wait, where's Ben drowned? Where is Ben drowned? Shit, no, don't do that. I wanted to play both of these at once.
And lastly, in a number 1, drowned.
Ben.
So why is
This is
that
our
last
number
message in
1
our
spot
previous
because it
numbers
is
so creepy?
believed to
Well,
be
it's
the
because of this
creepypasta that began
creepypasta,
everything
which is
for
the
Zelda
most famous Zelda one of
creepypastas.
them all,
It also
Ben
has
Drowned.
several
It's the
story
tale of a
arcs and
haunted
added
Majora's
parts, but
Mask
I will
cartridge.
get
The
to
game in
as
the
much
franchise
as I
that is
can
arguably
to
the
describe
darkest
its
and creepiest
origins.
title that many
It's a
speculate
chilling
is about
tale of a
Link coming to
haunted
terms
Zelda
with his own
Majora's
death,
Mask
going through the
cartridge,
5 stages of
and the
grief.
story
urban
includes
legend
a
is about an
demented
American
portrayal
student
of
who was given
Link,
an
the Happy
N64
Mask
to play in his
salesman,
college
and
dorm
Ben,
room.
our
He eventually
mysterious
gets his
ghost
hand on a copy of
controlling
Majora's
things
Mask,
within the
which is a
game
blank cartridge that
and
has the
outside
word
of it.
Majora
Our player
written on
starts
it.
alone in Clock
Starting the
Town
game, there's a
and
save
can
file
only
on it
hear the
under the
Happy
name
Mask
Ben.
salesman's
Instead of
laugh
choosing
wherever
Ben,
he
the student
goes.
starts his own file
His
called
character is
Link. The
also
game has
in
a
a
few
kind of
glitches, though,
twisted
and all the
state.
NPCs
The words
call
on the
him
screen
Ben
are
rather than Link.
absolute
Student decides to
gibberish,
delete the
with
Ben
the
save
only
file
clear
in an
sentence
attempt to
being,
get rid of the
"You've
glitching.
met with a
Restarting his
terrible
game,
fate,
there's even
haven't
more
you?"
glitches this
After a
time,
number
with
of
the
weird
music
things
playing
happen in
backward.
the game,
This is so bizarre. I can't get over that shit. And they had like there's a third video that's just her talking about Ben Drowned. Oh my god. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, so unfortunately I do think that I need to wrap this up for the night. They are a verified channel with over 227,000 subscribers. But I will say, well, actually, I guess it doesn't really matter with how many videos they're putting out. But their videos aren't getting that many views. Yeah, like they're like, yeah, their videos are like in single-digit thousands. What a weird channel. Okay. So, I do believe this is where I have to wrap up for the evening. Tomorrow, I'm supposed to help a friend with something in the early afternoon. So, there's a possibility that the stream might be a bit later than usual. If I wind up having to take the day off to help my friend, that might wind up being the case, but then we would be streaming all like Monday all the way through the week, because it is my last week before I go on vacation. Yeah, I definitely want to do this again. This was a really fun stream. I'm glad that we tried this. If you haven't hit that follow button already, be sure to hit that follow button so you know the next time I go live. But yeah, thank you guys for sticking around while I was trying out this kind of new thing to stream. But I had a lot of fun with this. I think we'll probably do this again sometime. Let's raid. Ooh, yeah. Is there anyone we can raid? Give me a second. Do we got any friends streaming? Let's find out. Okay. Oh, okay, so I think I'm gonna... They're doing the Ocarina of Time accessible weekly at the moment. So I might... Yeah, there's a couple people streaming, but I don't want to, like, overwhelm them with, like, 100 viewers or something. Oh, do you have someone specific I should raid, Shauna? If they won't get, like, overwhelmed or anything, like, I'd be down for that. Yeah. What are they streaming at the moment? Sure, let's give Shauna's friend a little raid just as we go. But yeah, thank you guys for being awesome, as you guys always are. And we'll be back at some point tomorrow, and if not tomorrow, then on what's it called? On Monday. Yes. So yeah, Shauna's friend is doing a charity stream at the moment, so send some pizza hearts their way. Don't be too wild in the chat, but just send some love. And yeah. Thank you everyone for being awesome, as you guys always are. And I'll see you later. So have a good night, y'all. Mwah.